It's 7 o'clock, so I will call to order the May 8th, 2023 meeting of Village Council. If you will rise and join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and pray with me, please. Lord, for all the blessings you give us, we just say thank you, Lord. We thank you for being a part of our lives, part of our community. We pray, Lord, that tonight the decisions that we make, the words that we use, the thoughts that we have, all of those are honorable in your sight. We pray in your name. Amen.
So it brings us to item number 2, additions and deletions. I do want to change item D1 and move it to 6D1 and move it to 9B so we don't take up too much time during our actual business talk. So 10-9B will be, or 10B will be planning board conservation subdivision discussion.
Okay, you're putting that at number, I should have 9B?
Yeah.
Okay, too many numbers to keep up with here.
And the 25th anniversary update on the dogwood tree does not come into Parks and Rec. Just FYI, that's separate. I mean, I'm not under Parks and Rec, so that's a whole separate little thing on its own. I don't know if we want to change that on the agenda or.
It's just a report.
We should make it a separate item.
Okay, just for
Yeah.
accuracy's sake.
So you want to move it to 7
Well-
or 6? Let's move it to just 6A. It's all little item.
Okay.
And that's the 25th anniversary of dogwood trees?
Yeah.
So what are we moving it to?
We're going to make it 6A.
The 25th anniversary update?
Yes, and 1 and 2 under B will be now 6A and B.
1 and 2 under 6B will now be under A. Okay.
And I'd like to move the consent agenda up to 3A, so we can just get that out of the way.
Okay. So number 7 goes to 3A. And 3B after the agenda.
Well, that's A, yeah. We don't
So moving consent to maybe 3.5 on the agenda?
Up to 3B, yeah. Any other changes? All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the noted changes.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of the sponsorship, dogwood tree sponsorship program. It's
Second.
a separate discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
So you're removing D of sponsorship? You're moving that out of consent agenda?
We're discussing that as
With the
6A.
Because I know, okay, very good.
Okay, so that brings us to public comments. Is anybody here for public comment? I don't know if anybody signed up. We have a small group. Anybody signed up? Okay. All right, so that brings us to item number 5, our presentation. So we have a Boy Scout project presentation from Logan Lewis. Logan, if you'll come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Thank you. My name is Logan Lewis, and I live at 224 Gatewood Lane. Thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to attend and present to y'all. I am a Life Scout out of Troop 99 in Weddington, and I am working on finishing my Eagle Scout rank. I have always went to Dogwood Park growing up, and I spent a lot of time there with family and with friends. I love taking my dogs there. And I figured to do something for my Eagle Scout project, that would be such a perfect place to do it at. And I had met with Mr. Como and discussed a lot of different project opportunities that was at the Dogwood Park. And I really was drawn to the retaining wall that had been started originally and was never complete. I currently work at the Harris Teeter right there in that shopping center, but I used to do landscaping and construction with my uncle and my father, so I actually have a familiar background with different landscaping things, such as the retaining wall. And I figured, it would be very good to finish it up, not only for, the obvious looks, because people see that the first section isn't fully done, and then they see that the rest is just rocks that have been placed, but also it'll be good for the garden. It'll help prevent erosion over time, and it will help keep the soil in place, which will help for more plants to be put in the garden. I reached out to a previous Eagle Scout out of my Troop 99, and he currently owns a pretty well-known landscaping business, Castano Design and Build, and he had plenty of stone that he said he was willing to donate for the project. So he said that he's willing to donate it, and he'd be able to drop it off right on site, so he'd be able to get a truck in through the path that I discussed with Mr. Lepp and drop it off right there. And then the mortar, Mr. Lepp very generously said that he would be able to provide that for me. So I should be able to get that project knocked out in a weekend, once I have everything in line and all my volunteers ready to go. I also have a couple of these, which that's just a very brief overview. This is everything in more detail, if y'all would like to see that.
Very professional.
Thank you.
What's the total length of wall that you'll be putting in?
So the remaining that needs to be complete is 46 feet long. It's also, I believe, a foot tall and a foot wide. So the amount of stone that Mr. Casano said that he's willing to donate, it should be plenty because it's 2 whole pallets, and a lot of the stones are much larger, which I would be able to break down into the smaller pieces, and it will be able to match what is up there right now.
And just making sure this went through Parks and Rec last month.
Yes, ma'am.
With a positive recommendation.
Awesome. Sounds great.
And Mr. Lepke's going to work with you on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yeah, he's been very generous the whole time, and he's been really helpful through the whole process. And he said that he's more than happy to help out with the project.
Great.
John is an expert at these types of retaining walls.
Yeah, he has quite a few in his backyard. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that's what he
nice.
was telling me. He says that he likes to do that in his free time. He likes to put that around different trees and everything. So I bet he'll be a big helping hand.
You may not be an expert at retaining walls right now, but by the end of summer, you will be.
Are you
Whether you
gonna-
want to be or not. Anything else?
If there's any
yeah.
other questions.
Yeah, several. Logan, you said that John Lemke is providing the mortar?
Yes, sir. So I had listed down that the town of Wesley Chapel would, because he said that the Parks and Rec would be able to provide the mortar. But whenever I asked him about it, he said that he would provide the mortar. So I was kind of confused if it would be the town of Wesley Chapel or if it would be him providing the mortar.
I can tell you that it's not the village of Wesley Chapel because we don't have any funds for that or
Yes, sir.
allocated currently.
Yes, sir.
That's something that we need to determine
Well,
if he's gonna provide it personally or Logan, if the ask is for the village to provide that.
Yes, sir.
I think John stepped up. We actually had, when we started the wall years ago, we had bags of mortar, and they sat around in the shipping container, which had a leak in the roof, and the mortar got wet, hardened, and had to be discarded. But we had to get rid of maybe 10 bags of mortar, and we never did get to finish the retaining wall. Started by the youth committee several years ago, and then kind of haphazardly thrown together, but this is going to be a finished project.
But we don't have any mortar now.
I don't know if we were able to salvage any of the 10 bags, but
Okay.
the last time I helped John clean out the shipping container, the bags that I saw were past the prime,
Okay.
past their usable date.
So we need to find out if that's the town or the village. I mean, the village would like to. Any more questions, Jane?
Are you planning on backfilling the wall with dirt?
At like where, as in like where I fill it up, putting soil behind, like. even it
Yeah,
out?
on
Yes,
the
sir.
garden side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. You won't be doing any grade work though?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. And then the stones that are there, you plan to remove those?
Yes, sir. If there's some that I can, include, then I will, but I believe the stone that's gonna be donated to me, that should be more about to
Cool.
handle it.
The Logan timeline, what's your,
So I
That's
was
what it is.
hoping, I have the date on, that booklet that I handed out, yes, ma'am. I believe I put June the 13th, around that time. I was wanting to start the project. If everything works out, I get approval from the council. Once I get that, I have to wait to hear from my troop about going to district, because I also have to present to them. And then after they approve it, I'll be able to start the project. So it just really depends on when the next district committee meeting will be.
that's all I've got.
I've got some bubbles for John, but you told him quick, he's not responding that quick.
Madam Mayor, can we approve it based on the, I guess, the contingency that either Logan or John will work out the order?
Sure.
Yeah, if it becomes an issue, I'm more than happy to provide the mortar with my own funds. That's something that I'd be able to handle.
Mortar's not incredibly expensive, but not we need. But I will motion to approve the Eagle Scout project for Logan Lewis.
I second.
Okay. So first and second, any further discussion? He said, that we have money left in the supplies budget, and he will provide it personally if council doesn't want to.
Mayor, excuse me, Mayor, I'll provide the difference.
Okay.
I'll be happy to work with that person to provide that.
So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Frank.
I told you, when Eagle Scouts are involved, you step up.
Yes, sir.
I told
Okay.
the Eagle Scout, excuse me, the potential Eagle Scout, that what we require from him more than anything else is his sweat. That it wouldn't be a materials issue, it wouldn't be a training issue, it wouldn't be a tools issue, it would be how much sweat we could get out of him, and everything else would take care of itself, as it has.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so I'll leave you with Frank to exchange phone numbers at the end, and
Yes,
so we have a motion, a second.
Can I get Frank's last name?
Frank Capella.
Capella, thank you.
CAPPELLA.
Thank you.
And all in favor? That's unanimous. All right, thank you for your work.
Should I wait until the end? I have to get signatures
No, I don't want you to have to wait on that.
This box right here, that's the project beneficiary representative, and then at the back, there's a blank for the representative's approval.
Used to be on that agenda.
Good. And where else? Can you pass that down to Kathy if you?
Thank you.
This box right here, the beneficiary.
Thank you for considering our park.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do my project at the park.
Well, you're an impressive young man.
Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing the finished product.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that brings- That brings us to the board rules of procedure update for the Board of Adjustment. Mr. Cancel?
In your packet are updated rules of procedure for both the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board. Kathy had gone through them and done an initial markup, and she asked me to look at them as well, and so I went back through and made some additional edits. There were, what's the year 2023? I would imagine Bill Dustin probably wrote these sometime 15 plus-ish years ago. There are a number of erroneous references, some kind of outdated language in there. So we went through and cleaned it up and made sure the references were right and clarified some provisions, things like stating that the village clerk was the secretary to both boards, since that was the custom over the last 20 years, I would imagine. The one thing I reviewed the Board of Adjustment, marked it up first, and then the Planning Board. What I didn't notice is that the Board of Adjustment rules have the compensation in them, but the Planning Board did not. And apparently had not been in the Board of Adjustment before, but still is not in the Planning Board. I don't know if we want, if that needs to stay in there, or how that had been handled in the past, how the compensation, the stipend for the board members of either body had been handled by the village, how that had been established, whether it was just the budget or custom, or how that originated.
Yeah, Board of Adjustment, to my knowledge, is not compensated, but Planning Board is, for their time and only meetings attended.
Yeah. So there's been language added for the Board of Adjustment to be compensated. So if you do not want to compensate them, then that would need to come out.
And really,
2A at the bottom, 2A right before the elections. The bottom of 2A.
just on the Board of Adjustment.
So you can strike that last paragraph?
That's up to
That's
us.
up to council.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, the precedent has been that the first alternate named is the first automatically would go up to the board if they were willing, right? Because this just says may select from either alternate members or any qualified resident, and I don't think that's been our past practice. All you planning board people, what do y'all think?
Yeah, it's historically been the first alternate moves up.
For the Planning Board,
Yeah.
let's see. So the original text. So I think the filling of vacancies, I think the either isn't really, is being maybe read not in the right tone of voice from either an alternate member or from some other person.
Are we still talking the planning board? Or
This isn't the Planning Board.
Yeah. Do you think it matters if we spell out what our process has been?
So you'd like to enshrine the advancement of an alternate,
Yeah.
the longest tenured alternate member.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I agree.
But
Um,
does council want to tie themselves into that?
That's the only question I would have is if you want to bind yourselves
Because historically, if they don't like planning board members, they just kick them off.
Sure. You see how that works out. It's only if you want to bind yourself to that. So,
Those comments make it sound like you kind of think it might be a bad idea to,
you never know. I think you have a great group of people. I think either of the current alternate members would make wonderful regular planning board members, and they have served admirably in that role in the past, and will continue to do so. I guess I can figure out how to reword that to talk about the declination of appointment by. If one wants to remain an alternate member, maybe we can add something like that.
And it's my understanding, when I was appointed on planning board, there were 3 alternates.
Yeah.
And that's what it says in the rules of procedure. So it might be 2 for BOA, but it's always been 3 for planning board. And I just double checked the online rules of procedure and it says 3.
We are updating these files, so it's whichever you prefer. 3 alternates. Did you want language on
Planning board.
appointing the longest tenured? Okay.
Longest tenured alternate to the regular meeting seat and then changing it to 3 alternates.
And specify the compensation for planning board members, but not for the board of adjustment.
Yes.
And then under 7A,
No stops.
it says the order by which planning board alternates will be allowed to sit in place of permanent member that shall begin for those first appointed and then alternating by chronological order.
That's what Cheryl had been doing at the meeting.
I wasn't sure if that's what they were doing because sometimes there's not much choice of who's there to step up. That's why I was wondering.
And typically the months rotate.
Yeah, it's like who steps up first doesn't step up the next month. Also in 6, there's reference to special meetings can be held as needed, any convenient place in the Westlake Chapel area. Seems like that should be town hall, but it's nothing in there about any public notice of the meeting, should there be.
Yeah.
The meeting notices are covered under the North Carolina statutes, if that's
Yeah, so it's-
sufficient.
Yes, required to provide notice of them, no matter what the rules say.
Regardless.
Yeah, so I think that the convenient place goes back as far as the time when there might not have been
Yeah.
much of a regular meeting place.
Can we change it to town hall?
Sure.
I mean, I don't think unless it's precedence, we just want whatever we want to anymore.
Unless there is a special meeting needed.
Conflict.
Well, either that or if there's a field trip, they need to see a conservation subdivision in the works.
yeah, I don't know that we'd do it during a meeting, maybe. Do it during a meeting.
Well, it'd be a
Anytime that you've
considered
got 3 or
meeting.
more, you're gonna have a meeting,
Quorum.
yeah. We had talked about that, going to the conservation subdivision that Weddington has.
Yeah, I still want to see that.
Now, the meeting place for the planning board says it will be held here, but the chairman can move that generally so long as he provides notice of where the meeting will be held in a timely manner. That's statutory too. So he can do that. We can add that sentence in there. If he wants to move it, he needs to give adequate notice.
When you think about your average person looking at this, they're not going to go read the statute and say, was that included or not, so better to have it here. Also, it says planning board members shall be appointed. It doesn't say by council, it just says the planning board chair is appointed by council. I don't think that,
Was that a question?
I was just pointing that out, see if anybody else thought that was.
It's better.
That the chairman is appointed by council.
No, it just says planning board members shall be appointed, and then it says the planning board chair is appointed by council. It doesn't really say who appoints the planning board members.
This is a point of clarity.
Right.
So you would just say and?
Well, no, they're in separate categories, so Rule 2 just need to have, it just needs to be added by council after that first line.
Okay.
Good.
Or by the council to match.
I'll get it in there, thank you.
Do you need the BOA rules and procedures updated before May 30th? Because there's really only one thing to change in there, right? Like the 2A.
We'll take the compensation out, so, yeah.
And this is potential motion, so we don't have to motion, and I can make these changes, send them back out to you. And if everybody kind of, if they like it, we can just put it on consent, or we can bring it back to the board to discuss more. But you'll get another opportunity to look at it. once
I
make
know,
the
but he's
changes.
got that hearing on May 30th. I'm wondering if he needs to have these approved before then.
Just in case anything goes sideways, I think it'll be better for them to be approved. And so if you make a motion to approve the Board of Adjustment Rules and Procedure as amended with the further amendment of striking the compensation section, then we'd be good to go.
Yeah. And then we can look at planning board again one more time.
Okay, so BOA, okay, strike that one.
So council, do I have a motion to approve the BOA meetings striking the compensation paragraph?
So motion.
Second.
Any further discussion on the BOA minute, rules of procedure? Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous. And then we'll just look for the edits on the planning board and hopefully just put that on consent
Next month.
Okay, anything else on that one?
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, all right. That brings us to the finance and clerk report from Kathy.
I'm sorry, can we back up a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, we missed the 25th anniversary. Sorry, my
Oh,
bad.
we're supposed to also,
Oh, we're gonna appoint them down on item 6C.
oh, never mind, my apologies.
Yeah, but I did skip the 21st anniversary. So that brings us to the 25th anniversary update, Deb.
Did we move that?
No, I thought that,
We moved it to 6A.
okay, instead of anything. Okay, I'm sorry.
Either
I
way.
wrote it down.
Okay. Hey, whatever it is. So, I did an update on the finances, and take one of those and pass it down. Oh, Kathy, here's the So, I'm sorry, we're on, okay, so the 25th update, we have our little art contest out front, and the art teacher is extremely excited about what we've done. I think it's an awesome opportunity to kind of interact with the community. We're going to have a reception on the 15th.
Is this gonna be an ongoing thing?
I'd like it to be. I mean, I think it'd be a really neat annual event, having an art contest,
We've got that great lobby, we barely use it.
Yeah. So I want to put all the pictures up in there. We're going to, like I said, have a reception on the 15th, and the mayor's going to present the little ribbons to the kids, and we'll do pictures and a little story for the news media and that. And the art teacher is beyond herself excited. She's so cute.
That's the 15th of
The 15th of May. That's next Monday night. It's right before the communications meeting.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock, the kids will be, their awards thingies will be, ribbons will be presented at 6:30, and then they'll be out of there by 7. That's my plan, anyway. All 25 trees have been planted at the park and numbered. We've already sold, believe it or not, we haven't even advertised it yet, and 5 people have already purchased trees.
6?
6 people have already purchased trees. That's very exciting. So I'm working with Amy on how to get those how to get that all the procedures and everything locked in. I've updated the overall cost, leading off with the memorabilia. The first sheet is the 22-23 budget, the $5,000 that you guys approved. And we came in under budget. This first one, I think. Some of the, we still have not got it worked out with the guy with the banners, and that's my fault. I've just not been able to. I've got to contact DOT and work with them, and I just, to be honest, I have to kind of keep putting it on the back shelf. So the 4th Street banners is still coming, I promise. But and I decided not to do the cash awards for the art thingies because it just got too much. And that's it. Yeah, we came in $114 under budget, under the 5,000 anyway. And with the expenses approved for the 23-24, we will be $5.04 over budget.
That's pretty good.
And I'll put that in myself.
That is pretty good.
So, anyway, we're good to go. We're my number one volunteer out there and my right-hand girl. So, yeah, she's been tremendous help to me. Tremendous help. So, anyway, good to go. I'm excited.
Thank you for all the work. You've made great progress on it. You moved pretty quick.
Yes, we have.
Actually, Deb has taken the lead.
Teamwork, right?
Teamwork. There you go.
Now, do you want to talk about the sponsorship form?
Can. I have a tree sponsorship list that Amy has, and it will have the sponsor's name, whether they've paid or not, what they want to say. This is just the list. The actual sponsorship form is out there on the table, and it has. Okay, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Let me look it up. Let me pull it up here. It is on page 17, 5-8, page 17. It is. I tried to make it as complete as possible and simple as possible. Name, address, phone number, what you're going to get, and the price. You know, they can select the desired tree and come up here and pay for it. We're going to give them a yellow ribbon they can tie, or we'll tie around the tree so other people will know that tree's been taken. And then we'll get these little plaques that they can put their verbiage on those and what they want to say. And it's the same plaque. It'll look the same, except the wording will be different. And this one that I've got here is the one I've already ordered and I did for my husband, my late husband. So, it's,
Remind me what the total cost is per tree.
I'm sorry, what?
Remind me what the total cost is per tree.
The $100.
To sponsor.
To sponsor a tree, it's $100, and that will get you a plaque also. And the plaques they've gone up. They're now $45. They were $35. I got a little text that said, one of your things have gone up. So that will, whatever money is left over, we gather up and return to the foundation so they can do this. Because they spent about $2,500 on the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can, they had to raise that money. And they didn't ask for anything, but I thought it would be nice if we have money left over, which we will, give it back to them, donate it to them.
And the reason I said 6, not 5, is because I wanted to sponsor one for Frank and Peggy Jennings, who live directly behind the park.
I saw their names on the tree.
Okay.
Their name is on a tree out there, tree number 6, actually.
Whichever, I told them to pick whichever one you wanted.
Yeah, so their name's there.
Frank and Peggy Peggy's passed away, but Frank still lives directly behind the park. They were very instrumental in the early days of the park. They let us have access to water before we had water. They let us have access to their electricity before we had electricity. They helped us in numerous ways to get the park to where it is today. And I think in honor of
Well, that's very kind of you
the
to do
Jennings,
that.
we should
Yeah.
tree.
I think the town is also should get one tree for the 25th anniversary tree.
I agree.
And then I'd like to, when we get this thing kind of rolling, I'd like to have a little ceremony out there with the mayor and, their council. You don't have to have a ribbon cutting or anything, although we will have a lot of yellow ribbons. So anyway, I just need to know, what and you can fill out the form as to what you want to say on there in honor of, in memory of, and what, since one's deceased and one's not, or just, whatever. So that's it. Hopefully,
So,
if you have any questions, I'll be happy to.
should I make a motion for us to sponsor one tree for the, just to commemorate the 25th anniversary? Does that need to be a motion?
And we need a motion for the sponsorship form.
For the sponsorship program, if you would motion that and then motion to have the tree, that would be great.
From an administrative side, Kathy, are there any things that we need to add to the sponsorship application?
No, sir, I looked. It's good.
Okay, all right.
And it says, I was told that it's not a tax deduction, even though we're giving any profits to a 50C3, whatever that is. So are we sure it's not a tax deduction?
And Kathy?
We technically are not giving any money to the sponsorship. The way we've set it up is to take in donations for enough trees to cover the plaques. The rest of the donations are going directly to the Wake the Forest so that we don't have to give them any money. We cannot give money to individual organizations unless they benefit the majority of the public of our citizens, or the majority of our citizens.
Well, those trees, though, did benefit.
But
Yeah, but that's not what the money's being used for.
Oh, I got you.
Legal thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
because
But-
the trees were donated.
yeah,
But Kathy and Amy will keep an eye on that.
okay.
So we need to up the price to $45 a plaque?
Yes, it will be, but I didn't put the cost of the plaque on here.
No, but for Kathy and Amy, when they're added up,
I'll fix it. We'll just take in one or two more sponsorships to cover the cost. And if we end up pocketing, $20, it'll be fine. But then that way there's no,
Yeah, because the foundation doesn't expect anything,
yeah.
so anything they get will be appreciated.
Well, we only have 25 trees, and we got 25 sponsorships, and that's it, right? We're not gonna have more sponsorships than we have trees, are we?
Well, I thought about that because I've been asked that a couple of times. What if, because we haven't even advertised it yet and we're selling them out. I mean, people look at them and they go, I want that one. We could always, do more trees later, a different kind of sponsorship, maybe, or
So
Or
make
just-
a waiting list of people who are
Yeah.
interested?
Yeah.
or
I
something.
mean, I think that would be a separate thing. Do the 25 here,
Yeah,
and then see how many extra people that you have contacted or whatever, and say we had such overwhelming response. Next year, say, we had such overwhelming response, we're gonna do this again, so.
26.
But it doesn't matter, it's just like support your part.
yeah. And the thing is, though, the trees are like a couple $100 to get that size of tree. It's anywhere from $150 to $200. The foundation was able to get a special price. They got theirs for $100 a piece ish. So, I don't know. The price would be different next year because we would have to get one
We
made.
can evaluate it next year.
Yeah,
but-
John Lutke loves to haggle down the price.
He definitely stretches that tax down.
Yeah, he does.
All right, so the first thing we need to do is approve the application.
Approve the sponsorship
The entire sponsorship thing.
Sponsorship program.
program.
Well, this is the
This
sponsorship
dogwood
application.
sponsorship program.
Well, the form is a sponsorship application. Is that what we're approving?
From
The whole program first, then the application?
The whole program, which is driven by the application.
Ah, okay.
But,
It's on the agenda as program.
well, it says, I know it's listed as program, but I want to make sure I'm not approving something I have not seen. Because this is just an application, so.
You gave the page, what was it?
It's the pages,
37?
it's page 17. If you just scroll down to page 17, that's the application.
17, 18.
Pardon? Yeah, 17 and 18. And 19 is just the verbiage that I took right out of the Marvin sponsorship and rewrote it a little bit, but I don't even know if you want to.
There's nothing after his application, that's why I was asking if there's something else as far as the program.
What?
The application you're talking about is just 3 pages, right? That's what we're supposed to be approving.
Right, yeah. Deposit permission, yeah, that, I don't even know if that permissible recognition message is necessary. I just put it in there as added.
Because when I hear program, I'm thinking that's more of the other conversation that we have, how we're gonna do them, how we're gonna put them, and that's not, do them at more, that sounds more like program. This one sounds like we're just approving this application form.
Our sponsorship policy states that we have to have approval from council before we can accept any sponsorships, and that the people have to fill out an application. So the process of this, what we call it, is when I put it in the minutes, it would just be simply adopting a motion to sponsor the Dogwood Tree sponsorship program and the application attached. It's just simply saying yes to this program so that we can legally do it. That's all it is.
That sounds like a lot of assumptions.
Would it be self-fulfilling if I made the motion that we did it? I make a motion that we did it.
No, my point was, if this is our application just for the Dogwood Trees, it's perfectly fine. If this is intended to be the application form for everything, or in a different way of the overall sponsorship program, I did not want to be misled on that.
This is just for this program, and each program that we do, whichever council member brings it, will do an application. I don't mind helping, but it will just contain that one program to meet our current sponsorship policy.
Lori, are there any other issues that you think would fall into an overall program
Well, I'm just
scope?
thinking we have a sponsorship policy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that should be defining what is considered a program and referencing this. There'll be an individual application form. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I'm just saying, do we have that holistic look at it as opposed to just plugging stuff in here and there? Because, there is a sponsorship policy. And this is just the application for the Dogwood Tree piece. And, if there's another sponsorship opportunity, it should be covered by the policy, which is sort of like.
So would you like it changed to approving the Dogwood Tree sponsorship application?
That's fine.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're approving.
So we'll change the word program to application. And, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the Tree's 25th anniversary sponsorship application.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
What happens if the tree dies?
That's part of the program.
After I stop
All right,
crying,
perfect.
then.
That's a good point.
What'd
That's
you
part
say?
of the
What'd
program.
you say?
That's part of the program.
You can deduct it from John's wages. No, I'm just kidding.
John's been awesome with this. I have to give him kudos. He's been amazing helping me with this.
All right.
And can we
Do
get
you have a question, Mike?
No, I just thought I was voting.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
motion for the 25th?
All in favor? All right. That's unanimous. All right.
And
So is that
bacon-
it from you,
Motion for
Deb?
the 25th tree?
Oh yeah, and I'd like to make a motion that the village purchase a 25th anniversary commemorative tree for
And what
$100.
line item will that be coming under?
Well, I'm $100 under budget.
So it could come out of the committee, yeah, that works
It
for
could,
me,
yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Come out of the 25th anniversary committee budget?
Of course, that does mean that I'm now more than $5 over budget.
Well, you still have 500 of that contingency.
Oh, that's right. I did the 500 just
You're
in
welcome.
case. Okay.
I don't know.
I don't think there was actually a motion. Do
Yeah,
you have a motion?
I did.
You have, okay,
I
Deb
make
has a
it-
motion?
A motion that the village purchase a sponsorship or sponsor a commemorative tree for the 25th anniversary.
Second the motion.
Okay.
And it's gonna come from the 25th anniversary cost line item?
Yeah. It'll come from the 25th anniversary budgeted money.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Is that all for you, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that brings us to the finance and clerk report.
Okay. I have some good news. The good news is that we were able to move forward on our agreement with Spectrum to convert our equipment, update our equipment at pretty much the same cost. And our internet speed will go from the verified Como 10 to a 600. He did verify it, by the way, which I thought was pretty awesome. And so that's one good thing. The other thing is we were able to move our QuickBooks from the desktop to online, and the reason that we did that was QuickBooks was going to stop supporting as of the end of May, which gives me 1 month before budget to kind of get everything in order. So we went ahead and did the upload to online. So that's really going to be beneficial because it gives me just a lot more mobility with the system. The downside is having started the finance part of the job on Monday, and the internet delays and the online system lagging because of the internet. I don't have your reports tonight, so hopefully you won't lose them. The time, you know, they're time driven or date driven, so I'll be able to run those reports the end of April, whenever I get the system balanced. So, you know, once we upload the data, then I have to go through and verify that everything went in accurately and that I'm happy with it. So that's why you don't have your reports. If I had run them tonight, I'm not completely there on the integrity. Not that it's bad, I just want to verify it before we move forward. Any questions?
So when was the internet upgraded?
The internet has not been upgraded. It's scheduled to be done Wednesday. I got the approval to move forward. I think it was Thursday, on Wednesday or Thursday, and he sent us the information, the quote, and it was higher than what he originally said, so he had to redo it, and it took him 2 full days to get it back to me. So I just finally got it back to him, and now he told me he's trying to get it done Wednesday. That's not the update of the equipment. That's just simply the update of the internet. The phones will take 4 to 6 weeks.
Any further questions, council?
Just a comment, I know that there was like this rush for us to have to approve this, or say we were in agreement with that expenditure before this meeting. I don't like that as a precedent, and given the other back and forth, I'm not really sure why that would have waited.
I think there were extenuating circumstances with this particular issue, given the changing of guards, so to speak, with the clerk and the...
I mean, that might explain the financial piece. I'm talking about approving this from an expense perspective.
Oh, no, I
And
agree.
urgent. Yeah, I understand, I agree with what you said, but I was talking about the other. We're good.
Anybody else?
So when will you send us finance reports? Can we have them by the end of the week or what?
Just give me a couple weeks to get oriented
Weeks?
in this role. Not much has changed. I mean, I've written bills, but I haven't sent any checks, so there's not been really any change to the system other than maybe a couple of minor deposits. So, I'm balancing now. As soon as I'm balanced, I'll run your reports. The running reports is fairly easy. It's just making sure. I'd really rather have the internet Wednesday, be able to run my reports, and then send them to you. I mean, if you want me to try to get them done in a week and press for a week, I'll hurry. I don't mind.
Well, with the challenges that you've had with QuickBooks and the internet and this, that, and the other, I mean, I know you're working hard to get everything together, but
And I am, and I'm very confident with where we are. It's just, I think there's just a lot that I'm very detail oriented. I dot my I's and I cross my T's, and not only that, we're at year end. I have, I'm trying to make sure our insurance is all up to date. I'm trying to make sure I have all the passwords. I'm having a few issues with the email address because some of them are, it's not just a matter of using someone's email address, it's tied to a profile. So when I go to log in and create, so it's a whole lot of other things that I'm dealing with. It's not just that I couldn't run a report. I'm dealing with a lot. My printer has had trouble in connectivity, and I finally got that worked out 30 minutes before the meeting. I've got my files weren't working when I changed computers. I lost my Office 365. Your technician is not on retainer, so on retainer he responds within 4 hours. So I've been depending on other services that I use, HP Smart Friends, that have been helping me kind of get my computer in a workable manner. I had it in a workable manner, and then I had to change computers. So I've had 2 different offices, 3 different computers, and I'm balancing a lot. So I do appreciate council's grace on this. And I'm doing well. I'm happy. I'm very confident in where we're headed.
As long as there's light at the end of the tunnel, I think we should give Ms. Queen a little grace.
That, as long as there's nothing trending out of you know, out of order, which it sounds like there's not.
No, no.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, doing a great job. Thank you.
All right.
That's yours.
So, any more questions for Ms. Quinn? All right, so that brings us to the Parks and Rec Committee date. And while that's coming up here, I did send an email out to council and the planning board that our engineer did verify that they were able to update the dam at Dogwood Park to poor condition, because it does not meet the required outlet capacity requirements of the high hazard dam, and that will make us eligible for grant funding. We still haven't seen the final scope of work, but it is coming right in at that 700, 800,000, 900,000.
$1 million.
Right, basically $1 million. If you add in what we've already spent, you're probably right at that. But we still haven't seen the final one. But hopefully soon, because that grant funding has we got to start applying. So, Pat?
Okay. I see Logan's left, but I was glad to see that he was able to make it to the meeting tonight. He did give us a presentation, and obviously we recommended that he take the next step and come to council. So he's a very sharp young man. Let's see, the community garden update. We do have a form. We did draft actually John did it. He worked with the Weddington Garden Club, and he came up with a kind of a draft agreement with them. One caveat that came out of it was I think they kind of wanted to leave themselves an out, but they said they're not going to commit to once a month volunteer days. But as a committee, we also decided, or we've just started discussion about bringing back our monthly volunteer days. We used to have a calendar, and we've decided that in lieu of, we've got a couple of Girl Scouts now. We've got 2 that want to do lead some cleanup projects and bring some volunteers into the park. So we're seeing an opportunity to make a calendar. And what we hope will happen is we will all each take turns in doing on volunteer days. We'll take the community garden and either supervise weeding, supervise some education, whatever needs to be done just to keep the community garden, tended to. But anyways, we have this. I don't know if Amy had a copy of it or not, or if you've seen any of it, but it's kind of the garden objectives and the agreement with the Weddington members, because I think you guys tasked us with coming up with some sort of so I don't know if you want to see this or we'll forward it to you.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it. Yes, I'd like to see
Okay.
it.
Well, I'll make sure. I think Amy has a copy of it, but I'm not sure. All right. The next update is the committee did motion that council accept Unity's landscape bid for our landscaping contract. And we talked about that in the budget meeting. One other thing that we have here is we've got a need to have some gutters repaired on the amphitheater. And it's not a lot of money. It's $400.31.
And if I may, it's not a repair of the existing gutters, it's adding downspouts to the existing gutters. So right now, the water's running off the back of the bandstand into a gutter, off to the side, and then just dropping down over the ground from a decent height, maybe 20 feet. And it's creating some erosion problems where the water hits. So the idea is to add downspouts to either side and then put spouts to carry the water in the same direction.
Why weren't downspouts originally put in?
Cost,
Another example that B&G could pay for it later.
to some extent, but I honestly didn't think this was something that should have come to the council. I thought this was, given the dollar amount being $400, was something that could just come out of just general
Is there money,
operations.
is there still money in the,
Here's what we want to do. There is money in the, John won't let us have any of his repair money. So, we have excess money in our event budget, and what we would like to do is, that's the reason we brought it up. We'd like to move $400 from that budget over to repairs so that we can cover this.
I'm sorry if I moved it from what account?
event?
Oh, events?
Park and Rec,
Okay.
yeah, events, because we didn't spend, so.
So, do I have a motion, council?
Motion to move $431 from park events to park maintenance fund to cover addition of downspouts to the amphitheater.
And am I correct in giving the dollar amount?
Hold on, wait, we gotta have a second.
Okay, I'll second. In discussion, am I correct that given the dollar amount, we do not require multiple bids? That it's just a couple downspouts for us.
Right. We don't have to get multiple bids for $431.
No, that's actually something within the policy that we can move without a motion,
Okay.
up to 1,000.
That's what I thought.
All right,
You-
so, well, we have a motion and a second. So
You want
all in
this back?
favor?
That's fine, that works. It's okay.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Great, thank you. All right, so, and we've got a couple of events coming up quickly on us. Movie night is May 26th, and we are expecting to start at 6:30. We're gonna be showing, Top Gun Maverick, and they're pretty strict about starting this movie at dusk. And we're trying to promote a family fun, kind of as a family fun night. So, what we had thought about is maybe having some yard games available, buying some soccer balls and footballs or something like that. And then another suggestion that was really kind of interesting was, what would the possibility be of, prior to that, having this area of the town hall open for maybe a pre-show of, a cartoon movie or something for the younger kids.
The idea is most of the kids aren't going to be into the Top Gun movie and won't be able to stay up as late with the sun going down. It's almost
Yeah.
a 2-hour movie, Top Gun.
I mean, and it's PG-13, I mean, I wouldn't want
I
my
was like,
8-year-old
I was
there.
gonna say, really, for children?
So the thought was, we set up on the screen here a cartoon for the littler kids that would come and just see that, family oriented, and then not stay for the end of the movie.
So is there any, were we given any choice in the movie selection?
Oh,
I know
yeah.
the prior ones were more family friendly.
We were given choices. I don't,
Slew of choices, yeah.
yeah, but
One we had was the cartoon where Furry Vengeance or something like that. It just kept changing, but because of the, and we've got a couple of moms on Parks and Rec, I think Julie was one recommending, if we're gonna wait until this time to start the movie, little kids are gonna not stay for the whole thing, they'll either fall asleep or have to go home for bed. So we decided if we're gonna start this late, to make it a movie for a little bit older kids.
And what time is dusk? What time do they want to start?
it's gonna be about, at this time of year, it's about 7:30, 7:45. So and Julie and a couple of people have attended the Union County movies, and they're pretty steadfast at starting them at dusk. So, it's hard to say, since it's our first time, who's going to come. There might be families with little kids and older ones,
I mean, if you advertise Top Gun Maverick, I don't think you're gonna have very many little kids show up.
No, and
But if they're being shown inside, is the Top Gun going to be shown inside too?
No,
No.
Top Gun was gonna be an outdoor movie that
Oh,
we
okay.
planned, we were hoping that when we were talking about a more family
Right,
event.
right.
To maybe do some cartoons and, but in the old days, you used to have cartoons at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
And then you have the movie.
We're not that old.
Yeah.
Well, even I remember that, so it wasn't that long ago.
So tonight, sunset's 8:14 and last light is 8:42.
Yeah.
So it'll be later than that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it's almost the longest day by the end of May.
I mean, my concern is who's watching the kids in here? They can't eat in here. And you know what? I used to be on the PTO board at school. And one time they did this hot chocolate thing, and I've never seen so much hot chocolate spilled everywhere in my entire life.
Yeah.
So, you know, carpet, chairs,
No food,
no
popcorn.
food, no popcorn, no, that's not gonna make a very happy child.
And I can only speak for the 4 boys' children, but give them a ball and a grassy area to play in. They prefer to do that
Well, they were
many
thinking
times
about,
over watching. a
if
cartoon.
we invested in things like cornhole boards, which are relatively inexpensive, those are things that we would have for all park events from this point forward. And since we have money left in the budget, we invested in a couple of 3 sets of cornhole boards. We'd have those a good long time.
They're like $150 a piece, and then the bags are pretty expensive.
What, I don't have the budget in front of me, but I don't think,
Last one I looked at.
we were talking about doing something like, what, $500 for what we call field games or things like that.
Is that a motion coming from the committee?
Yeah, it was like a tug of war rope for tug of war.
Well, we talked about, the various things, but we did not come to a conclusion exactly on what we were gonna buy.
It was,
Cornhole boards,
boards.
football, soccer ball.
I mentioned lawn darts, but that was shot.
Cornhole boards
No
in
pun
place.
intended. Yeah.
So,
So-
board and soccer balls and footballs.
So you're asking for that tonight?
Well, the event's on the 26th.
Right, so you gotta ask for it.
We've got to ask for that, so I would ask to move, I would ask to move 500.
And do we have a place to store it that's not in the town hall
Yes, at the park or
with the tractor?
the closet where we keep all the rest of the Parks and Rec facilities. John's cleaned up the closet a lot and there's plenty of room in there.
Can I ask why we chose May to do the movie?
The original movie was set for last fall
Right.
and it got
Rained out.
rained out and then it got too cold and we just basically kept kicking the can down the road and finally said, well, we're just gonna wait till do it in the spring. Now it's spring and that's what we're doing now.
Aren't we going to get another one too at the end of?
Well, you should be getting.
The hope was, because we didn't get any last year, we're gonna try to squeeze in 2 this year.
Yeah.
But this is just our first.
You might think about the fact that it's going to be so late, 9 o'clock really, before the movie can start. I mean, that is really kind of a late.
Well, I think we could push them to do it more. What time did you say sunset was, 8:15?
8:15 and then last light 8:42.
I think if we start at 8:15, we should be able to.
Yeah, we'll be later.
Well,
than that.
it's like 8:15. I mean, it's basically 5 minutes after 8 now. So, I mean, you see how light it still is up
Yeah,
there.
and in September, to your point, in September, October, it definitely starts getting dark earlier, but it's still warm enough to be great for a nighttime event, like was originally planned last year.
Yeah.
Well, these have been happening all over Union County and all the different
Yeah.
municipalities. And we're grateful that the county is actually picking up the tab for
Yeah.
the majority of this expense. The projectors, the screens, the movie cost. All we have to do is give them the venue.
So you're asking for $500 to be moved to, or we could just leave it in events, because technically this is an
Yeah,
event.
exactly. So I just wanted to bring up that, because we want this to be a family and we want to hopefully have it be successful, so folks will come to the second one and maybe the second one will have a more, younger, just to balance it.
Mhm.
So,
That sounds nice.
I think it's a great idea. One thing, if you do get cornhole bowlers, especially if you end up getting one that's more custom, is to get something for the village. That makes it clear it's the village's to, it's advertisement.
oh, yeah, good.
You gotta put our name out there for everybody.
Yes,
We don't
brought
need to
to you
advertise, you know,
by.
UNC or something, Duke or anybody.
Let's see, what else? So is it okay or not okay to use here for cartoons? If we make sure we don't let anybody bring popcorn in or
Well, if you're buying the lawn stuff, can't they be outside playing? Because isn't Jersey Mike's gonna be here outside?
Yeah, they are. They
So
are.
they could-
Okay,
And just have the indoors open for the bathroom?
okay,
And Jersey Mike's is doing a smaller sandwich,
yeah.
instead of doing the regular big sandwiches. You know, they have the foot long and a half, the 6 inch. I think they're gonna do like 4 inch sandwiches at a cheaper rate, so more family friendly for
And-
kids.
And speaking of someone who's trapped with 18 8-year-olds on a daily basis, they need, like, after the school day, they need to be outside. Because when they're in here, they're gonna be bouncing off the walls,
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
swinging from the chandeliers.
all right, sounds good, and we're gonna have popcorn too, so I think the plan is to get together and we're gonna bag it. Also,
Can't remember.
yeah, to save the $2.
Yeah, yeah, we're in there.
So,
We buy the popcorn in empty bags, we stuff all the bags in advance and give it out the day of.
this will make it quick, go a lot easier, I think. And then let's see, the next event is our rock and roller car show party. Beth has graciously agreed to step in and give us a big hand with that, because she knows that whole car thing, and you know, it's not as easy as it might sound. And I've been learning about it too, so it's been really good. So I think we're pretty ready to go with that. That's going to be on June 10th from 4 to 7. So I don't believe, and I'm on the calendar in front of us, that we'll get a chance to be in front of council. I think council meets in June, like on the 12th. So we just wanted to make sure you guys knew that we were going to do that. And we're reusing our signs, we're updating the date, putting a thing across the date thing, and we've got food trucks coming for that. We've got a DJ. Wayne, our committee member Wayne, made arrangements for the same DJ as last year, I think. So we'll have music, and I think we're good to go there.
Did Amy forward you the picture I sent her of the sign?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I don't know when.
Is there a problem?
I think so, it was the one that,
You couldn't read it. When the last event, I was in the heading, whatever direction I was going, on Waxahachie Trail, and I was a few cars back, and I couldn't really tell the sign. I was going back closer, I could see the date and all really clearly, but the Dogwood Park part was really kind of small, so it's kind of like, okay, there's something going on.
But we don't know
I
where.
can't quite tell where, with the size of the font, and then I just took a picture and sent it to Amy, and said, for future signs.
Yeah, we've learned over the years, and this goes back to the Diana Bowler and Sauter Bradford days of Friends of Parks and Rec. They were really good at the graphics and the signs and the posters and banners. And when we lost them, we lost that apparent ability to some degree. And we've actually asked Sandra to come back and help us with things like graphics so that we don't make those mistakes in the future.
That was why I sent it, I was just like,
Yeah.
She's willing to come back, even if it's just in a limited capacity, to help us with
because
graphics.
being able to know the location, the date, and the time,
That's right.
you know, those are the three key things to know.
Exactly.
You gotta be able to read the entire banner in 3 seconds and know exactly what's going on.
And driving through that intersection,
You
you're
can.
risking your life.
Okay, well, and then the final caveat kind of related to the car event. Our committee made a motion to recommend to council that we utilize the Bird Dog Traffic group to manage our traffic control across the street from the church to the park. That's more so for there, it's not the movie night, but it would be the rock and roller show.
and there was a lot of stuff that came back about that. George, do you remember?
I think the main question that I remember is whether they had their own squad cars and could have a car with a light on
No,
it.
that wasn't it.
Something else.
Bird Dog has to provide proof of certain assurances, and that is You have to have a certificate of insurance, and they have to obtain approvals. Scrolling down.
From DOT and the sheriff's office.
Yeah. And as a reminder to council and people in the audience, the reason we're considering switching is because we relied, in past events, we've relied only on the sheriff's deputies, and sometimes the day before the event, even though they've signed up in advance, they pull their application, or they pull their volunteerism, or whatever it's called. So we ended up short sheriff's deputies at the very last minute, and this is a way kind of around that, and once we contract with them, they're sure to show up.
Well, council had approved using them for the Easter event, but then it got rained out, and so we didn't need them. Because if we had said we wanted
Well,
to
we've
check them
looking
out,
into it.
and then there was more looking into it, but it was like, we like that as an option. And so I think
Right.
originally we were trying to try them out at Easter.
Right, and you don't have anybody holding
But then we
the
have these
review
other
gun to
things
your
come up.
head to, for your event.
But they have to provide us with the approvals from DOT, the sheriff's office, and the certificate of insurance. We can't request that for them, they have to.
Okay.
I think that's something we can task you with,
Yeah.
checking into.
Yeah, I'll email her tonight. Okay, so
But that's not till,
June 10th is that.
So you might, then we probably need to go ahead and put June 10th on the sheriff's office page.
Just in case.
Yeah, did Cheryl leave you that login, Kathy?
No, I'll look through, she left me a bunch of little sticky notes. I'll
Well, I know
look
they're
through.
changing the process and how it's done. I'll reach out to the guy and make sure that we'll follow the right process.
Yeah,
I think
I
we
might
need
get
to-
it 30 days.
I think we need to go ahead and add
advance.
that.
We're right there.
I don't think you're gonna get an approval from DOT in 30 days.
not unless they already have it.
Well, do they, yeah, I was gonna say, do they have to have it for every event that they do, or?
I would think,
It's
it would be like the insurance for the bounce house. When you get it at the beginning of the year, it's good all year,
Right,
because this is the same company that Waxaw
Yeah.
uses for their events.
well, we'll do both, we gotta get on the calendar then for the sheriff, and then, I guess, if we have to, can we back out of that?
Sure.
I think you just have to give them a certain amount of time.
Yeah. And I think it's 30 days, or hopefully it's not
Let's,
60.
We know that nothing happens quickly in government, so I feel better if we go ahead and put it on the sheriff's office for the deputies. How many deputies do you need?
4.
Would you like me to do that? I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll find the guy's information for you. So you want 4 deputies, and between the hours of, because I know they typically come 30 minutes before.
how do we end up with 4? I thought it was 3. I really thought it was 3.
One of
Well,
the,
4 to 7
that's
is the
your day.
event. So are you saying 3 o'clock or
No,
3:30?
how many
Number of
deputies?
days.
Number of deputies.
Oh.
is-
We always used to have 4, I thought.
So 2 directing traffic,
And one at the bottom of the driveway.
one at the bottom of the driveway.
And then 1 roaming around, or is that not necessary?
We've never utilized the roaming one.
He spends a lot of time talking.
I think if it's Brandon roaming around, that's one thing. I think if it's another deputy roaming around, it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Did
Do we leverage Brandon? Do we
Did
say
we ask-
this is one of your work days?
I think we sent him this date. I can follow up with him right now and see if he's planning to attend that day. So I have seen him working several Saturdays lately.
Yeah. Well, I thought at one point in time, and I can't, it seems like he was, or we wanted him to be told that's one of his.
We did tell him
His
that,
requirements.
you know, we don't own his schedule, so.
Okay, so we'll go with 3 then, in the portal, and then Brandon.
Okay. And then, so you want him from 3:30 to 7:30?
Yeah.
So does Brandon get paid extra like the other deputies?
Well, that was his.
Which is, I think, one reason he doesn't want to do it.
Well, yeah, for what we pay more than $100,000 a year, but it's.
No, we don't pay him that. That's what we pay
Well,
the sheriff's
we pay the
office.
sheriff's department that. his response is, I can't do it, it's my day off. But if you want to pay me extra, I'll do it.
So in other words, we would get him we would have to go in the portal then to get him, all right?
Well, I'll let you know what he says.
Okay.
That was years ago, but now I think
Well, and if he doesn't do it, do we really have to have a fourth?
I think 3 would be
Okay.
more than enough.
All right, I think that is it for all the news that's fit to print from us. And any questions?
Thank you, Pat. Any questions for Pat? Thank you, we
No.
appreciate it.
Does somebody have an email of what we need to reach out to the bird dog?
I can send it to you.
Great, thanks. All right.
Thanks, Pat.
Yep, thank you.
I gotta grab the water.
All right, so that gets us to. Oh, right. That brings us to the Board of Adjustment. So we need, we had an issue, we had to cancel the Board of Adjustment hearing last week because we did not have a quorum. We do have two volunteers who are willing to serve on the Board of Adjustment, and I need to appoint them tonight. That's right. Okay, so I will appoint Mr. Frank Capella on the way back. Thank you for agreeing to serve on the Board of Adjustment and making sure you're available on May the 30th. And appoint Mr. William Ruley also to the Board of Adjustment to whatever those open seats and terms are. Thankfully, they don't meet very often, maybe like twice in 5 years.
They met last in spring of 2021.
And then I think it had been like 5 years.
It's been a long time.
When I say no, I mean it.
Thank you for that.
So, to make
We
it easy,
appreciate what you bring to the community.
So we can put,
so on the Board of Adjustments, we have 1 seat and then 1 alternate seat.
all right, so put Mr. Frank Capella in seat 5.
That has a term ending date of 4/30/2025.
Sure. And then put Mr. William Ruley in alternate spot A1.
Would there be any conflict with him being on the planning board and the Board of Adjustment?
Well, it's not ideal, but we are kind of desperate so we don't have to postpone this hearing again. People aren't knocking down the doors to serve on the Board of Adjustment. So Karen Izzo is also a planning board member. So, you know, there are councils who use their planning board as the Board of Adjustment. And personally, I think that's really smart. Well, I think it's smart because the planning board knows the rules and expectations versus somebody who comes once every 5 years.
Well, I'd like to get the rest of the council's opinion on this, but I always thought that the planning board had a set number of rules that they had to follow and couldn't really waver from it. The board, I saw the Board of Adjustment as something, a board that would get together and say, given this special circumstance, that an exception should be made for a specific item. So therefore, you've got planning board, very strict set of rules, and you've got Board of Adjustments, exceptions can be made given special circumstances. Am I
No,
not
that's right.
seeing that right to the?
No, that's right, but several towns do use it. Devon, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a variety of different arrangements, and in many communities, smaller communities, there is such infrequent activity coming before a Board of Adjustment. In North Carolina, other states, your experience may vary, but in North Carolina, in a small community, you're typically not going to have a lot of stuff for a Board of Adjustment to do. And so to ensure that there is at least some degree of familiarity with what's going on in general, a planning board will often be appointed.
But am I correct in my analogy of planning board has a set list of rules they have to follow. Board of Adjustments can bend those rules for special circumstances.
Well, the planning board's not approving anything ever. So
Sure, they're only making recommendations.
they're making recommendations. It would just be an alter ego of theirs.
Well, I'll give you a prime example, because this one actually happened. We had somebody who had a pie-shaped lot, and their house sat in the middle of the pie, and the backyard was the little pointy part. Well, they wanted to put a shed in their backyard, but because of the shape of the property,
Sure.
the shed was going to encroach on the side yard setbacks. But, so the shed was either going to have to be almost up to their patio or no shed at all. And somebody looked at that and said, look, there's woods over here, there's woods over here, let them push the shed back further where it made sense. And I think that was where Board of Adjustments stepped in and said, yes, there should be an exception.
That is a good example of the things that they would typically be charged with doing.
Right, but what Vaughn is saying is that in a small community like ours, they meet so infrequently to maintain a quorum that some communities use their planning board to sometimes function as a board of adjustment.
I've been in communities where the elected officials were the Board of Adjustment. I remember the first time I saw that, I was very confused as to what was going on. There we were in Kenansville Town Hall with ashtrays, and people were smoking, and the Board of Adjustment was going on.
Oh my God.
So right now, hopefully we have enough interest to hold this meeting on May the 30th.
Yes.
If it gets canceled again, council, we might want to consider the makeup to, because we have to have 2 lawyers, and then the applicants gets mad and the neighbors get mad, and so it's not a good look.
I think it's probably something just to keep under active consideration without regard to how anything might go, just for practical purposes, as we discussed. Like I said, they haven't met in 2 years. They could have 10 meetings next year, because it's really up to the people of West Chapel as to whether or not they're coming to the Board of Adjustment.
And Ron, please clarify, the planning board makes recommendations to council. The Board of Adjustments, once they've made a ruling, that's it.
Unless somebody appeals it, yeah.
Okay, so it's not, an issue before Board of Adjustments is not going to be seen by council. Thank you for the clarification.
So Kathy, if you will forward all the documents to William and Frank, and then Vaughn, I know Frank has expressed some interest in like a little crash course and Board of Adjustment.
Talking on the phone? Sure.
So William's probably a little more first.
I think he's probably a little more speed.
So we'll get Frank up to speed, and thank you for agreeing to serve, Frank. Okay.
Logic will prevail.
What's that?
Said logic will prevail.
Also.
Mayor Bullock.
Yes.
Can I get a motion just to adopt the term ending dates? These are, I went back through the last 3 years of records with their hire dates. Most of them are 3 years, but what you should do is you should have, on each board or committee, you should have them rolling off in tranches so that you never have the whole committee turnover at once. So once I get these committee term ending dates set, then I will begin to notify them of their upcoming term ending dates and if they want to renew their appointments. And I'll also be letting new people know coming on board when their appointments will end. So
why was 4:30 chosen instead of like 6:30?
I think that I saw in some of your previous documents 4:30, but it can be 6:30 if you prefer.
Well, I was just thinking fiscal year.
I mean, it was no big deal.
Because, I mean, April,
I can change it to
But
that.
some of
That would be
these-
my inclination too, but I saw something that said 4:30 and I thought maybe you guys were used to that, so I just went with that.
I don't recall seeing a date, because I know we've appointed people to fulfill a term, and I really did think they ended in the middle of the year, but it could have been the end of the year, we don't know. But the other thing is, like, on some of these terms, they're being extended substantially. You're going in December 2021, and then a 3-year term, but not coming off to April 2025. So some of these people may have in their heads the dates they're coming off, and suddenly we're extended it on them.
And if that happens, it's only 1 or 2 people that are on there, and we're past the renewal date, so it extends their terms maybe a year. But, council I can let them know and see if they're interested, or if they resign, they resign.
Under planning board, you have one 12/13/2021 ending 4/30/2025, and under communications committee, have one appointed 12/13/2021, and the term expires 4/30/2024, so we're not even consistent.
All right, hold on one at a time. So Richard Stevens was appointed in December of '21, so 3 years would be '24.
Sherry Killian was reported at the same time,
Okay.
and it's 4/30/2025.
It was just luck of the draw. I was just trying to get them to roll off 2 a year so that they don't all roll off at the same time. I can switch the names, I can switch the years if you prefer.
Well, I'm just saying, you know.
It's
whatever
just
they-
getting started.
Whatever they thought they committed to was my point.
I don't think they committed to a term because there wasn't one listed.
No, they all do,
They
they have
already
a
have a
term.
Do they have a 3-year term under your old rules? I didn't see.
It's
it.
on the what?
Wrong.
Yeah, I think they have 3. Yeah, they have a term limit,
Yeah, there's a fixed term.
and it's on the, I think it's on the website, right?
The terms are,
Listen, you have
Yeah,
originally on
the term
rules.
3
expirations
years.
are on the website,
this is a 3-year term.
and it is a June expiration date, June
Yeah,
30th.
June 30th. So
I knew I didn't.
Mike is 2024, Richard Stevens is showing as coming up this June, as well as Sherry.
Yeah.
And Adam in 2024.
I mean, the council would like to play with the dates and work it out. That's fine with me. I just was trying to get us to a starting point so it can be managed.
Well, if they're already in here, can we just update them to these? And we need to add in that alternate,
Now, the
the
only,
missing alternate position for planning board.
when I went back through the minutes, I did not see any term ending dates except for the first 3 chairs of the Board of Adjustments, and I noted those in the
Well, some of them-
motions.
Cheryl just put them on the website whenever they get appointed.
I can go back and check. I mean, what would you like me to do?
Use the dates on the website.
Okay.
And then you should be able to hopefully find, Board of Adjustments are on there. Let's see if Parks and Rec is on there. Parks and Rec is not on there.
I'll go back and take another look at that and see if they're rolling. If they're not rolling, do you want me to do anything with it or just leave it where they are?
I think if you go back into that clerk email and type in like Jim Hill, it should pop up when he, like if Cheryl sent him an email and said, would you like to be reappointed? He says yes or no. So the names that we don't have for like Parks and Rec, hopefully, so we've got Board of Adjustment, we got Planning Board, Communications. Let's see if it's on here. Communications, it does not have theirs, but I know we've had to reappoint Francesca and Greg, I think, or at least Francesca. So if you Google, if you go into that clerk email and put in Francesca's name, you should hopefully be able to see when
Or
Cheryl
do a
said,
search across all the agendas.
when Cheryl said, Francesca, do you want to be appointed for another term?
Yeah. Or you could do a file search on the original agendas for their name.
I did a file search through the minutes is what I looked
Well,
for. but I'll
I'm
go
saying on the
back and
agendas,
look.
because it may have just say appointed, like in the consent agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just saying that should be a quick way to be able to find it, but.
Well, their names would be in the minutes. So probably
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I did actually, to your point, I did look through the activity of the summary of activities that she does. So I'll go back and look in the minutes too to see if they actually, the motion actually states a term ending date.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying, if
I'm
you
really
have
just trying to
all
get
the-
to a
if you
point.
have all the raw documents, you can just search their name, and it'll search through all their names.
How do you do
In
that?
File Explorer.
In File Explorer, you can just, in the search bar, you can just put it in, it'll search through all the documents.
It'll search
Yeah.
the body of the document?
Yeah,
Oh,
so it's really easy.
all right, I'll look that
That's
up
why I
and
just
see.
said the agenda is quicker.
I thought it only read the title, the file name. So, okay, thank you. I'll do some more research on that. You want me to change it to 6:30? I'll see if anybody, or what the term ending dates are.
Yeah, and then we'll just circle back to this next month.
Okay.
It is helpful to have it. I would love to also, Cheryl tried to periodically update like a contact list.
So, yeah, I will have all of that once I get the information set.
Because that is very helpful.
Yeah,
We'll
this
have
is-
their email, their telephone number. I'll
This
have
is
their-
really nice.
And it's just in an internally shared form.
Got it.
That's
And
very
I'll fix
helpful.
this and we'll expand it. Thank you.
The communications committee changed their meeting date. It's now the third Monday of the month.
The communications committee changed.
Yeah,
it.
we've got communications meets the fourth Wednesday. That was what they used to do. But now they're meeting on that's been a recent thing, the third Monday of the month.
The third Monday of the
Yes,
month.
ma'am.
Okay, and then we'll need to update their charter on that as well, so, but
It's been
it'll
updated.
all come together
It's been
eventually,
up-
everything will start to line up, so.
Yeah, the charter's been updated already.
We'll just have to update that date if it hadn't been charted. Has it been updated?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Hey, we got our stuff
I
together
know
now.
we're ahead of me, all right. Okay.
So we'll come back to that in June to have that document complete. And that brings us to, no, remove that. So it brings us to new business. Oh wait, we are still under, when we get to planning board, I need to update the application for planning board member. So this brings us to new business, removal of chamber electronics. We have talked about it.
Did you do consent? Did I totally miss it? I know we were to move it, but I think we skipped over it. Did I hear a motion for consent?
Yeah, David did
That
it.
was right after the agenda.
I missed it the first time.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think David did it and
Mike seconded it.
it was unanimous.
And I missed that too. I apologize because I've got something I need to change in the minutes. There was one little thing on page 40. It says that there were 15 pieces of art and there were 25.
Okay, I'll update it, so approved with the
Yeah,
amended
it's on page
25
40.
pieces of art?
Yeah, 25 pieces of art.
Um,
I apologize.
When are we doing the conservation subdivision? Is that-
We're doing it right before closing comments.
Okay. I didn't know that.
And that was Voice Como approved that consent agenda, thank you.
So we've talked about chamber electronics and how difficult they are. So the microphones don't work. The ones that do work, there's one over here that works, and I thought John said he put one over here.
Number one works, and maybe one of these.
So, do we have to keep them here if nothing works? Like, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, should we move them?
Yes.
Well, I think there's moving them, and then I think there's trashing them. I think there's still value in them, because they're just monitors. They can
Moved or removed?
That's up to council, I just wanted to
Why would
bring
we-
it up.
Why would we keep them here if they don't work?
No, these work. They just don't work with the system. But you should be able to use it as a second monitor with your laptop, I think. I mean, it's just a dumb monitor.
I don't think I've ever gotten the joy to look at them.
Most
It's
most
a-
laptops don't have
It's a
that type of
monitor.
connection that these using. We'd have to use an adapter with them,
Okay.
which is fine, but they're not. This one at least is an HDMI cable.
Okay, thank you for looking back, because I was feeling it when I hit
But I mean, if you have your laptop here, you're not gonna
it. No,
plug it in here.
no, you use those two screens. So you have, okay,
Getting fancy.
never mind.
No, I mean, that's too complicated for me, but you need that, you're.
That's a good idea though.
No, I was talking about for staff, that they'd be able to use if they have their laptop and there's two things you want to look at, you can use two different monitors together. That's all I'm
So you
saying.
think we should offer these to staff?
To use in the office.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to
And
destroy
to
them, just
Bob's
remove
point,
them from.
May need an adapter.
That's an excellent idea, because actually, I was thinking Amy needs something, because it's very difficult on our shoulders to work on that little computer bent over. I have one, I always like two, so I think that's an excellent, we can put the rest aside and then decide if we
You
want
can
to.
have three. You can look like a stockbroker.
I know, right? And then if we'll try to determine what works, what doesn't, and we'll just surplus them. At a meeting in June maybe, or later. We can just move them today.
I think if you look in the workroom, you'll find a surplus, quote unquote, of
Another surplus.
another store, an existing surplus.
Yeah. But I mean, is that okay? I know we've talked about, I know we have movement meetings here, and we sit here and they're like, oh, they don't work. It's kind of embarrassing. It's just
Yeah.
easier to move them than look like they do.
I agree.
So believe it or not, when they first got installed,
They also didn't work.
when the monitors were first installed, they came with bases and they sat right here.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Take the bases off, at least get them down here so we could see out.
Definitely had to see you though.
And we still have the bases.
That's still in surplus?
That's
Yeah, but
one of the things that's in
staff can
surplus.
So
use the
Amy can get her
bases,
base
yeah.
from
So,
surplus.
yeah, we do have bases for these, because like I said, they
Just
were
like
originally
they were.
right like that. And I was like, hi, Jim.
Those would have came in handy a couple public hearings ago. All right, so do we need a motion for that, Kathy?
I think consensus, because we're not getting rid of them, we're just gonna move them out.
Yeah, just moving them off our table.
And I'll try to get John to tell me which ones didn't work, so we can just set those aside.
And that brings us to developing, village policy update. So there are two things. I should have made it, I didn't notice that it wasn't very clear. Two things. A, Kathy has gone through our policies and kind of consolidated them into one document, taken out stuff that is not to statute, and maybe where it's not so clear, making things a little less wordy. If we have a not so busy meeting in June or July, we would like to put that on the agenda for review and discussion. So it's quite a lot, so you'll have some time to go through it.
Okay.
And depending on what the agenda, June has the budget, so maybe July would be a good, that's typically a very quiet.
I'm probably not
Don't
gonna be here in July, so.
That's a good
Okay,
time.
All right. Okay, so July might be an excellent month too. So that gives you 2 months, council, to.
We have June as our planning board, we're gonna look at those minutes, get those rules of procedure straightened out. So then in July, I'd like to do where we put it out there, we discuss it, and then we look at it again, just to make sure we like it. Just because these policies should stay set for a very long time, and they're high level, because staff know how to do their job, but it just gives council guidance that you know sort of how we're operating.
So everybody good with that? Maybe putting it on the July for the first review.
But we're gonna get it before that or get it in July?
You can have it sooner if you want.
Because I mean, if it's that big, I mean, we might need a month
We'll
or
have
two.
Kathy send it.
It's smaller because it's been consolidated.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of redundancies, things were stated in numerous places, so we pulled it together. It's basically just simply, if this policy is about this, then this is all it has on it. So
Okay.
I recommend you go through the table of contents, make sure you like kind of how it's organized, and we go from there. With the organization and then the content, and I think we'll be good.
And developing, I didn't realize that we had left WIMA off. So under developing, I'm going to talk about the developing drama. So at the past several WIMA meetings, we've had the county present to talk about water and sewer. And I know Vaughn and I have gone back and forth with the developer about water and sewer. And I thought it was very clear, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that there's currently the 12 Mile Creek sewer, water and sewer is at capacity. Everything that's already been permitted. So at this point, there's no clear commissioner approved plan for expansion of that. And it would take 2 to 3 years from the commissioners approving a plan to expand capacity for the 12 Mile Creek Basin. So we are looking at several years before there is water and sewer capacity for this area. Is that okay?
Mhm.
That led to ensuing drama with some larger municipalities passing resolutions asking the state to get involved in the water and sewer and being a utility provider, or establishing a utility provider for water and sewer. And David went to a meeting with the municipalities and state elected officials. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we met, I want to say it was last Monday, with Todd Johnston and Mark Brody, Stoney Russian and Brian Helms, commissioners. And then as the mayor said, other mayors and council members and mayor pro tems of basically the western municipalities. It's a pretty good conversation. It was about a 2-hour meeting whereby Commissioner Rushing told us all the things that were in place and that needed to take place and the things they were looking at. But he also said that there was no definitive plan at that time to open up more capacity. And then the municipality spoke, and most of the conversation was led by Mayor Pappas of Waxhaw. But again, there's a lot of discussion back and forth. Left on a pretty good note in that everyone agreed that there needed to be more dialogue between the municipalities. There was even a proposal that all the municipalities and the commissioners would meet on a quarterly basis just to talk about this and to bring about updates. That was Monday at 9 o'clock. I went to the commissioners meeting that Monday night, and one of the first things on the agenda was a resolution for the investigation of relevant officials. Congratulations, council.
I'm
You
not relevant,
you
so-
guys are now open to SBI investigation that has been brought about by the Union County Board. the county
Even though we
commissioners.
didn't pass a resolution?
Even though we did not pass a resolution.
So
Yeah.
WUMA was some members of WUMA were asking if Wesley Chapel would be willing to pass a resolution. I have maintained that I could not speak on behalf of our board because we had not discussed it as a board. But I also think that as a village, my personal opinion is we aren't upset that there's no water and sewer
Yeah.
capacity, right? Like, we
For
know
real.
that gives us time to focus on the roads and the dam and the schools and, but that's my personal 2 cents. So I wanted to talk about it and then let David share about his
Well,
meeting.
one, I object to being under investigation for something I did not do or even wanting to participate in.
I will be the most boring investigation I ever.
But
I guess the bigger question here is, if they don't have a plan, what do they want? I mean, it's like, hey, if the road's closed between here and my house, I still have to get home tonight. I've got to find another way. I can't just say, we're gonna kick the can down the road, and by the time it's actually a decision has to be made, I'll be out of office. You know, do I just go move to someplace else? I mean, I just can't believe that their stance is, we had a plan, it's not gonna work, we gave up on that plan. We don't have anything else planned.
The commissioner said several times that they were not opposed to growth. They were maintaining that they wanted managed growth.
Well, this will manage growth to some degree.
They will.
The question is this as typically it is this a money issue? If
He did say that they did not have for expansion of a water and sewer facility, they did not have funds allocated for that. It would have to be a new revenue stream.
Yeah, the only steps they have taken thus far, to my memory, has been increasing the system implementation fees.
So HB 600 and SB 686 currently before the legislature for this biennium thing. HB 600 would reduce the design daily flow rate to 75 gallons per day per dwelling and per additional bedroom from 240 gallons and 120 gallons respectively, freeing up more capacity in existing wastewater systems. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, Paul?
Well, no, I'm very familiar with the North Carolina Administrative Code setting, with the number of gallons per day it assigns to each bedroom. Very familiar with that.
Yeah, because bedrooms are where all the water comes from. So looking at that, the way I read it, it's going from 240 or 120 down to 75. You apply that across Union County, when we suddenly magically have capacity in our wastewater system?
But we have.
So we need to
Well,
watch that.
I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
so
We have a lot of bedrooms.
It says freeing up more capacity in existing wastewater systems.
Well, if that's how they interpret the rule, yeah.
but I guess the question is, are they just measuring it with a shorter ruler?
They just changed their measurement, it's arbitrary.
The number of gallons per day allocated, the DEQ is required to follow when, the systems are required to follow when doing the permitting has been in the administrative code. And it probably has not been amended for some time. I have seen situations in which people have been able to do a special study based on actual usage to have a reduction.
But this isn't a new thing for Union County. Union County's been looking at this, researching this, talking about this for a decade.
I'm still not that done.
So,
However, go ahead.
and so I don't doubt that with water efficiency gains and new construction, there has been probably some reduction in the per person or per bedroom average usages. I don't know what that is.
Right.
Maybe it's 75 gallons.
But the legislatures are just arbitrarily deciding, you
Oh,
just have
sure.
to calculate 75.
Yeah.
So if there's 100 bedrooms, that's 7,500 gallons per day that's necessary capacity. When previously, it would have been 2,400 or 1,200. And so now, wow, I got an extra 500 to play with.
Well, what I find interesting is we are saying state stay out of our business.
But we wouldn't invite.
But
the
then we're
state.
like, no, state take over and establish a utility provider, which don't we need to work on our business amongst ourselves and with the commissioners?
And there's been a lot of discussion about transferring some of the flow, especially Marvin, Stallings, that area, pushing that to Mecklenburg County. And again, the county understands that, they have an issue, that we have an issue. And the response that was brought back by the commissioners was, well, those are our pipes that you're using to push that to Mecklenburg County, and that would be trespassing. So there's a lot of friction going on right now between the commissioners and.
But correct me if I'm wrong, is the municipalities that signed the petition, or not petition, what is it called?
Resolution.
The resolution, they're upset because of what the county's doing, it's stifling growth in their specific municipality. And they don't necessarily like that.
Especially when they're developing.
If somebody walked in the door right here and said, I want to turn a field down the street in Wesley Chapel into something, and we have to say no, not because we don't want it, because the county won't want it, but they're still going to be mad at us.
Won't be the first person, won't be the
No,
last.
I agree. And then,
So I just need to be able to go back to WUMA in May and say our council does or does not want to pass a resolution.
What's the resolution?
Saying you want the state to establish a utility provider.
No.
I personally don't want to do that, but
No,
I don't even get
I don't want, I
We've
don't want.
lost enough authority as it is with this legislature.
Yeah.
Just while I've been council member,
Do I think that the county should come up with a plan? Yes,
Yeah.
but
especially for all the increases they've given us over the years.
David, you were at that meeting. What do you think?
It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch. But I agree. I think we're pushing any authority further down the line from a municipality to a county to a state. I don't think we're best served with that.
if this was in our lap to begin with, if we were making these decisions, it wouldn't have gotten this bad. It's only bad because it's in the county's lap, and they're not doing their jobs, and they haven't been doing their jobs, and the foresight.
Can we quote you on this?
Yes, you
Councilman
may,
Bennett?
because there have been meeting after meeting after meeting. I sat in a 2-day meeting out at King Creek Park, and they brought in water and sewer experts from Mecklenburg County specifically to talk about this issue. And it was very clear that the meeting had nothing to do with the Union County planning and zoning guys, and it didn't have anything to do with the Union County Public Works guys. It was an entire meeting, 2 days long, to educate the 5 county commissioners on how badly they're screwing things up. And that meeting was 8 years ago, and they still haven't learned what all the experts are telling them. You have to fix this problem. You can't just keep kicking the can down the road.
I'm starting a new drinking game. Every time Mike says kicking the can down, I'm taking a shot.
Well, I just, it bothers me that the people that are elected to the county commission are not taking their job as seriously as they should. They know the problems, but they're focusing their efforts elsewhere, and that bothers me.
But we are okay with, we are not passing a resolution.
No.
Is that the
No.
consensus?
Yep.
Any final comments on that matter?
The only thing I'd like to
When
do
you
is,
state it and you say it, do it in all caps, underline, bold letters, exclamation point.
the only thing that I would say is that, I don't know if I have the consensus of the council, is that the county commissioners need to start doing a better job.
We're behind you on that.
I don't want to say that out loud. I'd like to make it to my car that day. All right, so also under developing business, I need to appoint Mr. Adam Stoffy. I hope I'm saying that right. He is a resident of Lindenwood who has applied to serve on the planning board. So that will fill our vacant seat, and we need to probably let him know when meetings are, and
He will be an alternate, right?
yeah,
Adam-
maybe the
what's
third
his last
alternate.
name? Adam?
Stoffey.
Yes, I'll let him know.
Let him know when the next meeting is, so he can be sworn in, and ask him if he has a few minutes. He could maybe speak with Vaughn before. Are you okay with that, or you want to talk to the chair?
Could we ask him to come speak before council? I was hoping he'd be here tonight.
I mean, you want to see him before we appoint him?
I'll talk to him, ask him a few questions, find out where he is on a few things. In the past, planning board members have shown up to council meetings and said a few words.
Does it make you look bad if you don't appoint somebody because their views don't match yours?
No, it's because the application consists of one page, and there's only, not even a paragraph. Why do you want to serve on the board or committee? To serve and protect and grow our community in a sustainable and opportunistic manner. That's not even a full sentence.
It is.
I think it's a nice one.
It's a full sentence,
It's a nice one.
Technically, there is a subject and predicate.
and it's understood. I want to do this too. It's all understood.
So, council, I just need your consensus. Do you want to go ahead and appoint him, or do you
Yes.
want to?
Yeah. I don't want him to think that he's not wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have such a hard time getting people anyway.
Yeah, we do, but I don't know. I think I agree with Mike. I'd like to.
I'm like, who was the last person we appointed, and did they come?
William
Will,
Oh, we knew him,
and Sandra Burke.
and we knew her.
Okay, we can ask them to come.
Yeah, so I think, because I don't think Sandra came the night we appointed her. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't, but, like, both of those were known entities. And so we just accepted them without them, like, speaking or something. But this guy, we don't know him from Adam.
We do know Adam.
Adam,
Not this Adam.
Well, if I ran into him in the hallway on planning board night, at least I'd be able
No,
to
you
face
run into
him.
him in the produce section of the grocery store.
Have I?
So Kathy, if you will reach out to Mr. Adam and extend an invitation for him to meet us at our June council meeting before he's appointed, that would be great. The only other developing thing is I would like Vaughn to briefly, if he doesn't mind, before we get into the conservation stuff, if you would just briefly talk about the Cuthbertson Road
Sure.
update.
So as you all know, the Union County has been taking the lead on this critical intersections project. And the public engagement portion of that concluded last week, I believe on last Friday. Tremendous response from everyone in the county. I think Bjorn said that, I think the total on Friday was up to like almost 3,000 people maybe that had responded to the survey, online interactive survey. that was great. So we had a meeting Friday morning about it and previewing some of the preliminary scoring and some of the preliminary public input that was received. There were maybe a few additions that were going to come from the public input, but he'd run the scoring. We're waiting on some updated crash data. We're using 2018 crash data right now. So there's some new crash data coming in from NCDOT soon. But the way things looked at Newtown and Cuthbertson was at one of the tied for first as a bad intersection of the intersections we're looking at throughout Union County. Some subset of those will advance to being submitted for funding for design and study through CRTPO, I believe, this fall. Interestingly, Bjorn and I talked to the Division 10 representative of CRTPO after the conclusion of a mercifully short meeting last Thursday, and he pulled out his phone as we approached and said, "I've already got a design for that. I think I know where some money might be." And so we discussed that. Of course, it would not be built anytime soon.
Help me with the sequence here. 2 years ago, I think, they added a turn lane off Newtown Road onto Cuthbertson. Since then, we've got a new subdivision being put in on Cuthbertson Road, and one of the conditions of that was that the road at Cuthbertson and Newtown be improved. And they've started building vertically in the new subdivision. They have made a single improvement to the road, and now we're talking about a roundabout potentially at that intersection.
So there will be another improvement made. I believe that construction will start imminently. According to Bjorn, the permit for doing that is still sitting in the DOT office waiting for final approval. I think approval for that is imminent. And so there will be an interim construction project based on the David Weekly Homes requirement. So this is taking place kind of in the critical intersections project that will be used to hopefully get some local funding through CRTPO to actually do the construction with some matches. It's kind of a parallel project to everything else going on, yes.
But here's my issue. Road improvements are expensive.
Yes.
They tend to drag on for years until they get done, and then when they finally get done, they're expensive as hell. We just had the left turn lane put in on Newtown Road. We're going to have an imminent improvement because of the subdivision. But the long-term goal that will actually fix the problem is the roundabout.
Right.
Well, we're not doing the roundabout.
I don't know why we're not doing it. I don't know why it's not been done. I do know that
Do it now and be done with it.
Well,
Fix the problem once and for all.
So we have to, NCDOT has a preliminary design, kind of like a 10% design, engineer sketching in an engineering way to determine the circumference and entrance and exit points. So that's done. A preliminary, a rough opinion of probable cost has been developed. The round number is $4 million. NCDOT may be able to provide some fairly substantial share of that. We think that CRTPO, it's probably going to be a very competitive project for direct allocation funding from CRTPO. The Village of Wesley Chapel, Union County, and Waxhaw will probably each need to provide some financial contribution if it's going to get done sooner rather than later.
But somebody at the DOT has got to see the logic of, they put money into that intersection 2 years ago. They get ready to put money into it again, and then both of those things that they've already done and spent a lot of money on is going to get torn up if a roundabout goes in there.
Yes.
It does seem like a waste of money, given, the budget.
I think that there's going to be enough time between, so this will go for design fund, the CRTPO operates on basically an annual work plan. So we got 2023, we're going to get design money.
There's got to
do
be
the design. Then
something
2024, we'll look for the direct allocation money, get that approved, and then work on starting to get the full design plans and bidding, and then sometime in 4 or 5 years, there'll be a construction project there. But that's about as fast as anything's gonna move.
So in the meantime, something has
So
to be
in
done.
the meantime, as if they build 400 or 500 houses down there as fast as they can, something else has to be done, otherwise it's gonna fall apart. The good news about the roundabout, the best news about the roundabout, one of the very good things about roundabout is it incorporates Farm Creek into it,
Right.
Right.
which is
So
great.
Which is
if
so
we-
nice.
But if we incorporated the new subdivision and the improvements that they're gonna have to pay for, plus Waxhaw, plus the Union County, plus Wesley Chapel, plus even the Farm Creek subdivision, pull all that money, we'll probably come up with $4 million, we do it today.
Is that a commitment?
No.
It's a frustration.
I understand.
I'm still waiting.
The good news is that the DOT engineer cared enough
To do something.
to be carrying around this design on his phone and talk to us about it with money coming out of his mouth,
Yeah.
within earshot of other people. So,
No, I mean, that's tremendous progress from where we were when we sat here with the TIA a couple of years ago. God, it feels like forever.
this would not be dependent on any developer doing anything.
No, but I mean,
It
just
even-
from where we
right,
were,
yeah, yeah.
hearing all of that to now actually having line of sight to a
The
substantial improvement.
potentially even better news is we're also, Bjorn and I discussed, potentially bundling, as long as it didn't cause any delay, a second roundabout at Lester Davis in Newtown, because it's probably going to have to go in anyway once the traffic starts continuously flowing through the Newtown Cuthbertson intersection.
Doing that same time?
Probably build them at the same time. We're going to see if we can add it in and get money for that too, at least to study it.
Because of where they're at in
They're
proximity.
so close together.
That you're not shutting off that much more of the road.
And we're also going to try and get during that same funding, design and study funding, to look at the possibility of just what it would take to align Lester Davis into Cuthbertson to make a four-way intersection and get rid of the job.
Wow.
And have a 521 to 84 straight shot. 521 to 74 straight shot.
Wow. If you get that done,
I'm like, wow.
And there is a developer that's been sniffing around on the north side of the road. So,
Not the solar farm guy.
I guess. Well, no, it's not a solar farm, it's a residential developer.
Okay.
The guys from DVR have been asking about that land.
well, that's very exciting. I mean, we've gone from there's nothing there for that road to getting it reclassified and it really taken off.
I think that the residents of Cuthbertson Road and all the interest up and down the road and us working together with Waxhaw and Union County to bring people together really helped
And a lot
make
of it's
things
data,
happen.
a good portion of it is data driven, and there have been a tremendous number of accidents.
They finally recognize, I mean, it's one of those kind of no man's land situations, and so nobody was really, it was kind of, the accidents and incidents that were happening out there were kind of orphaned.
I was talking to someone recently, they were talking about identifying the top 3 or 4 or 5 intersections in Wesley Chapel. I said, we submit every year a list to the county. It's always the same 5 intersections. Those same 5 intersections never get approved. So if we can get one done, that's a feather in our cap, because I've been on council long enough to see that list go through time and time and time and time again, just nothing happens.
Now, if that Cuthbertson Road gets built before the Potter and Potter,
That probably will not happen. I think
But
Honor Carter will
I
happen.
do think it raises the thing with DOT and their project plans and everything else, that one has to be during the summer. Because
I
there's
don't-
2 schools
yeah,
down the road on
that
Cuthbertson.
could hopefully be done that quick. I guess they'll just have to shut it down completely. Because of the power poles there.
Yeah, but that's
Because
what I'm
it'd
saying.
be very
It's like
difficult to
go
build
away by
temporary.
summer.
You can't
It'll be dark in Waxhaw.
you can't handle the buses and shutting down that roundabout. It's just like these, if they're not done in the summer, it's gonna be a nightmare for the schools. Because there's no quick,
It will be painful.
there's not a quick roundabout.
But the presence of the power lines, the transmission lines there make it
It's a big deal.
a difficult project, but the availability of land on the Griffins, our dear friends, the Griffins property,
Well, hopefully that cell phone tower will make it faster.
we're making fabulously wealthy with their new cell tower. You know, them having that land
Yeah.
available.
I'm just looking at what they did at 485 and Old Monroe Road,
Mhm.
or say John Street, whatever it is there, right? I mean, they kept that open, sometimes just one lane, but they were able to do some massive work. But, you said it was tied for first with what?
I can't recall. They weren't that important. They're not West
So
County.
not here.
Yeah, not here.
Well, we also want to know who do we have to go strong arm to make sure ours is number one.
Right. I know, I asked Vaughn, I said, when did the voting close? And it closed like after that meeting, so I was gonna start campaigning number 2 for the second round of people to do it. So, not a 2. All right, any questions for Vaughn on the Cuthbertson Road?
It is going to be.
That's great news, yeah. I mean, that is definitely something worth putting taxpayer dollars towards. All right, so that brings us to the conservation subdivision discussion.
Yeah. So for the last few months, the planning board has been reviewing potential updates to the conservation subdivision regulations and the subdivision ordinance, in order to seek some better performance and achieve some goals, especially in alignment with some the things we're trying to do with the comprehensive plan. And we have reviewed those. I basically came up with a list of potential changes, and we discussed them to try and gain consensus on everything. Once we gained consensus, or near consensus, I translated that into ordinance changes and provided them with red line copies for them to review. There were a large number of, maybe not controversial, but of changes where consensus was easily gained. The planning board was in quick agreement on things to improve how the ordinance functions. We made additional changes and updates to improve it as we went through, including up to the very end of the final meeting last month that we had about it. There's a list in the memo that I prepared of, I think, 9 major changes that are included in there. The one potential change with which I have a little bit of trouble, we had not a disagreement with the planning board, but maybe different philosophies. And I initially recommended to them that the way that lot size reduction is accomplished would be via the dedication of sequentially larger amounts of land. So you dedicate more land for conservation purposes, your lot sizes go down towards that 20. So as you know, right now we allow in a conservation subdivision for 70% of the lots to be 30,000 square feet and 30% of the lots to be 20,000 square feet. I had originally proposed to the planning board that be modified so that we started everything off at 30,000 square feet. And then for the dedication of land in excess of the minimum 30% that we require now, that either through an additional percentage or square footage or whatever, we looked at different models for how that would work in terms of how much additional land was dedicated, that the developer will be able to then elect to reduce lot sizes by a similar amount down to what we allow as a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet now. And so basically for the lot size reduction, getting more land conserved versus we're basically giving out 20,000 square foot lots for not doing anything extra at this point. The planning board, we kind of went back and forth and looked at the math on that a few different times. The planning board eventually settled that they just wanted to keep the lot size reduction at a standard 30,000 square feet. So that is the one point of potential disagreement that I had with the planning board. I didn't voice any opposition to them as they were discussing it. But that's just something in terms of advancing an amendment. I don't think that's the best to improve the operation of the ordinance. That's up to you to consider. If you want to move forward with their recommendation, that's fine with me. Yes, Mike?
Well, first of all, I can tell you from history that developers will always take it to the very edge, to the nth degree. So if you say you're going to allow a certain number of 20,000 square foot, they'll take you up on it every time.
Yeah.
And for the record, how many conservation subdivisions do we currently have?
One, because the way we do it doesn't really allow for the
We're
max.
doing it.
It's not as attractive. It's just not, it's not attractive. It's more attractive than doing a conventional subdivision here, but it's not attractive if I got to choose between places to do it and I could do it somewhere else, I'd do it somewhere else.
And do we have any in the pipe on the way, any applications in process?
We have one in process down the street.
Is making these changes now going to affect what we have potentially coming? I don't want to say, you've got a developer who's already got something in the works, and now we're going to change the rules after the application is in?
I think, well, this would, they have an approved sketch plan, so they are vested in that. They could choose to move, these are our email friends. They could choose to move forward with that, they could choose to abandon that, and attempt something else. The way that one of the, I think it would take more discussion about the exact method in which we implemented something different, since we never really settled on anything with the planning board. But there were different ways of increasing the amount of conservation land in exchange for reduction in lot size. We looked at different mathematical formulas that were used. It would just depend on whether that fit with their development profile, or how they've already spent some decent money in engineering, so I don't know if they would walk. It wouldn't be worth it to them, probably because they wouldn't get any more houses, because that was never on the table in terms of getting more houses. This would just reduce the development, grading, road, infrastructure footprint, but not yield any more houses, which is what the developers really, really want. But that was in the comprehensive plan, and we're not doing that, so we're not going to do that.
So can I beg some time?
Please.
Let's do a case study real quick. Developer comes to us, he has 100 acres of property, he wants a conservation subdivision on it. He's setting aside 25% of that, correct? 30. He's setting aside 30% of that. So his total yield is only going to be 70 homes?
He was probably going to get, in Wesley Chapel, your average 100-acre parcel, you're going to get maybe 60 out of it.
Okay.
Just the way things work.
Okay.
Because we base the lot yield off designing a conventional subdivision first. And so with your roads, your stormwater, your floodplains that are generally found everywhere, your required already 30% tree safe area.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
60, so we got 60 houses. How many of those are going to be on our 40,000
So
square foot lots, and how many of those are going to be on 20,000 square foot lots?
So today, that developer, if let's say that 60 lots, they would get 42 on 30,000 square foot lots and 18 on 20,000 square foot. Up to. They could choose to put them all on larger lots. And the way that I had proposed that portion of this whole series of amendments, which all the rest are non-controversial, everybody's good to go, me, them, everybody, was there be some sliding scale where we started at 30% and all 30,000 square foot lots, and then in exchange for dedication of some amount of land to be one of the different calculations that we've reviewed with them. One of those methods, get more land dedicated for conservation purposes in exchange for then reducing lot sizes. The planning board does not want anything smaller than 30,000 square foot lot.
The
Which
thing
is
is,
a
that's
philosophy.
the whole point of conservation subdivision is to conserve the forest lands. And if you're requiring the lots being 30,000, you're not giving the builders any incentive to do a conservation subdivision. I think the fact that we allowed 30% to be at 20,000 square feet, I'm basing it on Price Mill. Price Mill has 80 acres, 80 homes-ish. you know, I mean, but they're all in the center on anywhere from a half acre to 3/4 of an acre. And there's woods all around. And it was wonderful. We had all these trails and this that, and the other. But if those were supposed to be 30,000 acre lot, 30,000 square feet lots, we wouldn't have near the woods that we do
Yeah.
now.
My point to the planning board is that that land, once it goes into your lot, it typically becomes long in many cases, because we still have a deep front setback and some other things like that. That just creates more runoff and more stormwater pollution from fertilizers and things like that. I had a different approach to it than the planning board ended up advocating for in the end, but their recommendation was that we just have a lot size reduction basically 10,000 square feet in the R40.
And you were proposing sort of a matrix or formula that would allow them to do more and get smaller lot sizes.
To get, right.
Not the straight up 70-30.
Right.
But
So
it
to-
would give them something of an incentive.
Right.
What's the smallest lot that you would be?
We would go down to 20,000 since
Okay.
that's the smallest we go to now.
But it wouldn't arbitrarily be from the get-go, you get 30% of 20,000.
Right.
You have to do X,
Yeah.
Y, Z
Right.
to get some percentage of 20.
Yeah.
Did you have that written out, like what you were considering?
I'm sorry.
Did you have that table?
Yeah, I had put together some examples for them to, I don't, it's not included in the current draft because they had recommended something else.
Well, I was going to ask about that because I saw that was a change in the.
Yeah, I'm bringing to you what the planning board
Yeah,
recommended. I'm not, that's
That
their recommendation.
defeats the purpose of a conservation subdivision.
But I would like to see that, those examples.
The technical question is kind of goes along with what David was already talking about. If you've got 100 acres, you said the typical yield under regular zoning is roughly 60 houses.
Yes.
If the 100 acres had 10% stormwater that couldn't be developed because it was stormwater land, is that going toward, in conservation subdivision?
That doesn't count.
No, my point being is, if I've got 100 acres under R40 versus 100 acres under conservation, both those 100 acres have 10% floodplain that can't be developed on. Will the yield be the same
Yes.
between the two lots?
They would get, yeah, no matter what they're getting, the maximum is the same between them.
Because I know years ago we had issues whether the stormwater areas were being calculated as open green space.
So we've also, if you notice, in some of the amendments that we've, again, lots of good stuff that we all agreed on. We're taking things like active recreation areas out of conservation land. No. There's a lot of great improvements to the ordinance that everybody was 100% on board with. It's just that one point was a difference in how I would have recommended it be done and what the planning board ended up recommending.
No, I think there were a lot of good changes just from what I, had looked through and everything else, but I would be interested in more details on what you were proposing too. Just so I have those as, there's going to be more discussion. on this next
Hopefully I
one.
kept them. I did some different scenarios just to show how different formulas could work.
Is there a magic in the 70-30? I'm not gonna be 80-20?
It could be.
It would still make sense to a developer?
Well, I think what my recommendation initially was to make more sense for the village in terms of its goals to preserve more open space via a greater providing something to the developer in exchange for the dedication
Incentives.
of additional land
Yeah.
for
That is not a
conservation
density
purposes.
bonus.
You're basically just taking that 10,000, going from 30,000 to 20,000. One of the methods we looked at was just taking that 10,000 square feet and putting it into conservation land somewhere
Right,
on the site.
right.
Or it might be 20,000 square feet of additional conservation land to get the 10,000. We also put in some limits about how much floodplain you can use, some other stuff.
Is that a limit in the current conservation subdivision? Okay.
I think the only thing that, for me that matters is what I'm explaining to John Q. Public at Wesley Chapel residents. They said, look, if somebody's got 100 acres, the yield would be X. They do conservation subdivision, the yield will still be X.
Right. Which
That's the easiest way I can explain it.
Which I think is a very sensible rationalization of the way the ordinance works for most people. I think there are a good number of people in Wesley Chapel, just from the surveys and talking to people, et cetera, that do not want other people to live a lot smaller than 40,000 square feet, no matter what. Which that's their opinion. I think to entice developers to really conserve, not just not use, but conserve more land, there needs to be some greater incentive or allowance made for putting that land into conservation purposes.
And I mean, like, cleaning up about the flood areas and stuff. I mean, like, there was things, you could take the worst piece of property you would never ever
Right.
be able to develop and say, I conserved it. Well, you couldn't do anything with it to begin with.
Right, and that's to ensure that we're getting, because all floodplain will be conserved no matter what from now on, right? But this ensures that you're also getting land conserved that is good upland land
Yeah.
that can be
Nice conservation land.
enjoyment of the neighbors, you can walk around in it.
Then it
It's
just
a different
makes-
kind of wildlife habitat than the bottom land is and stuff like that.
Okay. All righty, so
So
we'll
Can we ask questions here?
sure.
Page 25, number 6. This is along the same things we're talking about. Neighborhood uses such as, but then it goes into this open-sided shelters not exceeding 1,000 square feet. When I think of conservation subdivisions, I don't think of having a building to take, as part of that. And I don't really understand and the poultry, all the other agricultural things, I mean, it almost sounds like,
well, one of the ways, if you say you have a 400-acre piece of land, there's like one of those, is that you could basically maintain your agricultural use of the property while building houses.
okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, most of that stuff is from, we constrained the permitted uses for the conservation lands from what is currently allowed.
And I definitely get not including swine and poultry,
Yeah.
but mink?
Ask Bill Dustin.
I had the same reaction.
What?
Yeah, I was
I don't
like,
know.
really? That was a thing here, apparently? Really?
I mean,
have
aren't
no idea.
minks are itty bitty little creatures, they can't take, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Also,
I mean-
very good spreaders of coronavirus, from what I understand.
oh, really? Okay. There you go.
Scandinavia was
Yeah.
wrecked with mink farm cullings for coronavirus spread. Who
Nice.
knew?
Not me. Not me.
Like
All right, so do we need, thanks, guys. Do we need,
So if
tell us where we should go with this, like, or where do you
there's
think?
different ways that you can go forward
Okay.
with it. You can, if you want to give different, or if you want to take time to think about whether you'd like to, for the planning board to make a consideration of an alternate means of lot size reduction, then we can take it, there's no hurry on this. Then we can take it back to them. We can take it back with them with a specific instruction over which one that you wanted to consider, or we can leave it open to them to make an alternate recommendation, which they do not have to do. I think, though, that at some point, if you do choose to do something different, or want to move forward to public hearing on something different than what they propose, it would need to go back to them for consideration of a new recommendation or not recommendation. And so it's really whether you want to send something, if you want to move forward as it is, take time to consider alternates, or give them some other instruction.
I think they've spent a lot of time
Yeah.
looking at this from every different angle, and you've given enough scenarios to think about this. I would like a little bit more time to go over it with a fine tooth comb, but I'm ready to, I think by the end of the next meeting, or by the next meeting, I'd be willing to move forward on it.
Would you want to have a public hearing for it the next meeting, or would you just like to consider it further?
I'm okay with public hearing, but we can go down and see what everybody thinks.
Yeah, because we don't have to make a decision at the public
You
hearing.
do not have to make a, the only thing is if we came up with an
Alternate.
alternate that you wanted, then you'd have to pay for another round of advertisement. How much did they have to pay? $500. It's not cheap. I mean, it's not expensive, but it's not cheap.
Yeah,
I mean, we have
But I
Parks
mean-
and Rec bag and popcorn to save $2, so.
yeah. But if there's like real reluctance to use the 30,000 feet as the standard that's in here, and we can't modify that in any way before it goes back to planning board, before we can approve it, that just sounds like that might be problematic, but.
Yeah. I think planning board's been a long, hard time on it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you would get a different recommendation out of them by just
Right,
leaving it
exactly.
open. I think if you give them something to review and say, would you
If they
review
reviewed this for one meeting and talked about it, came up with a conclusion and sent it to us, that'd be one thing. But they've talked about this
Yeah.
for months.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it for what, 30 minutes?
And
I think-
knowing the makeup of the planning board, there's still enough members that have been there. The last time we talked about conservation, I mean, we've talked about this multiple times. I don't know that your 30% whatever goes smaller. Just knowing who they are.
The fact they got consensus on it is huge.
Yeah.
And I think
So-
we should-
But I'm not gonna, I don't think that it's a good idea to accept, we've gotta go down on the lot size, or it's not gonna be a conservation subdivision.
So that's why I give the example, is if you got 100 acres and it would yield a certain number of houses, the conservation subdivision rules, you'll still get the same number of houses, you just have more open green space.
Not a lot of more. And you know, we need to maximize and give the developers incentive to want to do this stuff. I mean, we've got to conserve, you know, we've got to protect our trees and our land and.
To be clear, the only incentive for the developers is money.
Well, the 20, you know, 20,000 square feet, I mean, that's still a big lot. But I mean, you're protecting the land. That's what
I think everybody's in agreement on that. I guess what I will do is provide you with those same kind of different methods of additional conservation land addition and lot size reduction that we discussed with the planning board. So we talk about it at the next meeting and then give some. You don't have to have a public hearing before giving some instruction to the planning board or sending something back.
But I really don't see the advantage of kicking this back to the planning board.
It has to.
For any reason.
I know, but it has to.
Please don't kick in the can down the road. Please.
we can't just approve it with that one change.
I think
It has
they've
to.
talked about it ad nauseum. They make a recommendation to us. It's an educated recommendation. I think we ought to take the recommendation and not.
I'll let
Push it back to them and
parliamentarian George.
Did you think about
tell
this?
us whether this is a
Think about that?
substantial change that requires going back to the planning board or not.
Our job, Mike, is not to rubber stamp everything that comes through our.
I agree.
We have to kick it down the road. We have to kick that can a little bit farther down.
No.
So George, is this a substantial change that we need to go back to the planning board?
I don't think so.
I second.
I'm fine with it.
Lot size?
Hmm?
Lot size?
I mean, could it be? Yeah, but you got to kind of look at the whole package of the recommendation. I mean,
It's one piece of
it's one piece of a whole
60
lot. I mean,
60 changes.
I haven't read. I can imagine what's in here. I haven't read this specific one, but
It is one of 60 changes, probably.
it's up. If
Does that
you, all,
mean-
if you all want to, if you all want the planning board to take another look at it based on your comments and your discussion, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But could you make a decision on it and move ahead with a public hearing on it based on the changes you're now talking about, and I think you can.
Up to you.
Because it sounds like, I think we're all in agreement, we want to maximize the amount of conservation, green space that truly could have been developed and is not developed.
Right.
I think that's everybody's objective, and there is an understanding that from a developer's perspective, the more houses they can squish or whatever, the more money they can make. We all understand that. The other thing I will say is there's another bill under consideration that will not allow us any ability to control people putting in another residential unit in their backyard.
Well, one of those bills is done.
But I'm just saying, those are the type of things that are being debated. The town of Springfield, North Carolina, they're saying, you don't have enough affordable housing, so we're gonna do it for you, right? So I'm just saying, we just need to be careful that we don't do something that can end up really bad. But I do like the idea of conserving as much space as we can. And I would love to, I mean, we have a water shortage. You have to have a natural yard. Okay, fine, you know?
So the plan is for us to review this, discuss it more next month.
And Bon will send us his scenarios.
Right. And then at that point, you can consider what the procedure is from there, whether you want to go straight for a public hearing or if you want to send it back to planning.
We can also see how far that bill has gone, because you're right, if anybody can put a second dwelling unit on their property, do you want your lot to be half?
Without the town's ability to influence it.
Right.
That's the part that bothers me.
Yeah.
I think having those homes in some situations would be a lovely thing to be able to do, not in every situation.
Well, the great thing about that is if that goes through, you want to borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbor, they just go, here you go,
Well, that's the.
out the window.
I mean, the theory started as like in-law housing, right?
Yeah.
Extended family or whatever. And the theory is you put that in, it just becomes an Airbnb.
What is,
So we
pri-
can't control either.
what is primary and secondary conservation lands? What does that mean?
Whatever it says in there.
Well, it just says the proposed design of conservation subdivision shall minimize disturbance of primary conservation and required secondary conservation lands. I don't know what that means.
There's basically different tiers of what the, what's preferred and not preferred for conservation.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you. Tier A, Tier B, and Tier C. What,
That's all stuff that's already in there today. So,
that doesn't mean I understand it.
doesn't mean I
Voted on
understand.
You write it.
What?
Didn't you write it? Weren't you on the board when that was done?
For tier, no, we
For
didn't write
conservation
it.
subdivision. That was passed the first.
I don't remember seeing this tier A, B, and C. I don't remember seeing that. Do you remember seeing that, guys?
And I don't, but I mean, Vaughn, that'd be something we need more clarification on before next month. Okay.
Yeah, that's all that's in there today.
Was that when we were talking about, like, if you had a clear-cut piece of land, that's a less ideal location for
Yeah, so
conservation
Yeah, so
than
basically what
having
it
a
does.
wooded parcel?
Yeah, and so what that tier system does is it makes the preservation of forested land the most preferential type of land to preserve. So you kind of go in order as to what you got on your property, start with the best stuff and go down.
So the idea behind that is if you own 100 acres of cornfield and I own 100 acres of woods, whose land is more valuable?
No, it's if you own 100 acres of land and 50 acres of it is forested and 50 acres is a plowed cornfield. The village would prefer that you took the conservation land from your old growth timber and built on the cornfield.
But your point is either or. You own a field or you own a wooded lot, which would be more valuable, or parcel. Sort of like the ones where they clear cut down here.
And
Would have been worth more if the trees had not been cut compared to one where it used to just be a field. Like,
yeah, it
Lord,
depends on
it's
perspective.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about this more next time. Yippee. That brings us to council comment.
Okay, I'll start. I like the way Kathy has done all the documents, the packet. They're all one. I used to have the hardest time trying to figure out what we're talking about now. Okay, was it this one's? So now that they're all kind of in the line, I like that because it's easier to follow. I'm not so sure I like all the changes of the agenda. I don't know. I just liked having all that information in there and separated out. This doesn't give a lot of information on things. That's the only thing. But this is amazeballs, and that's great.
Yeah, I'll go next. Just to tag on with Deb. I do not like the one package. I like the individual documents because a lot of times I'll reference them at other times. Because I can find out when it was done, and I don't have to go through multiple 100-page document to find it. I can find out just the one piece I need and go forward. So that's my personal preference. I found this agenda format difficult to deal with tonight. One, it doesn't even say Village of Wesley Chapel, and even during this meeting, we needed the address, which was on the old agendas. But I prefer it when we had these things more broken out, like finances, one row by itself, because I found it difficult, especially when we're trying to reorganize the agenda to say, oh, that's 6B2, and it was very difficult to make sure we're talking about the right thing, but also then to figure out where it goes. So I much prefer the old format compared to this. And that's just my opinion. Okay.
But I get what you're trying to do, making it more concise, making it more, more of at a glance. But there was just some advantages to having all that information and kind of the background and knowing who's going to make who's going to talk about it.
I think it was just easier when you had like that whole row item of just finance as a road, park and rec as a road, and also just saying we have 2 minutes for park and rec. We spent 24 minutes on that tonight.
We have never followed the timeline on
No,
the
but not 2
agenda.
minutes. I mean, we have
Definitely
to
not for Parks and Rec.
be a little more realistic.
We have never followed that.
No, but I'm saying there was no chance of 2 minutes, much because it was closer to 44. I mean, we've never met the 10 minutes. But I just found that the individual things separated out was easier to follow and keep track of when we moved it.
You're up, David.
The only person who likes change is a lady with a dirty diaper. Okay, and I.
Is that your quote? Is that your quote tonight?
That's my quote. But I'm okay with either way, as long as we get it in ample time to go through and review it and move it in different parts. I mean, Lori, I agree with you. There's times that I was strolling through here tonight, I thought that's a lot of pages, but Deb, like you, I was like, well, it's all right there.
Yeah,
I'm not going
yeah.
from one to the other. The agenda, we'll get used to that too. I mean, the key thing is, I think, since the village has been here, there's always been one face sitting in that chair, and now we've got a new face, and I just want to wish you good luck. I mean, I'm thankful for the things you've done so far, and we'll get used to the change.
Well, it'll take no long.
You hit the ground running, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't mind change, but change that then hinders me doing my job, I do mind. And that's what I found with this tonight. That's what I was thinking about. But thank you.
So Kathy and I work together on making it a little clearer next time,
Okay.
based on your comment.
Second thing, I'm not big for celebrations, in so much that tomorrow's my birthday and I'm leaving town, just so I don't have to go through another celebration. But the 25th year anniversary celebration has been something that I've gotten so caught up in, and I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Feeding off the excitement that you and Miss Hill have, getting all this together. I mean, the trees, those are huge, and I mean, it's so much fun, sort of getting into the celebration all of a sudden.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I
I
feel the same.
appreciate that.
Be sure you press the angle that it's not really costing the taxpayers a lot of money.
Spoken like a true
That's right.
politician.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thursday, I'll be a part of the CRTPO Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln MPO meeting. Are you attending that?
Not going.
Okay, all right.
Have fun.
Gotcha. Well, they're feeding, they're
Yeah,
feeding.
the airport is gonna be great.
Yeah. My goal is to find out if anybody's getting any more traction than the Charlotte group is. I don't think we are, but I would just be interested to see if they're having the same struggles that we are with DOT and with their transportation plans. Deb and I had I think a really good meeting with the Moser group.
Very good,
A couple of
yeah.
weeks ago.
Very,
And I have tried, I don't know if you have, but I've tried to reach out to Mr. Moser a few times since the meeting, just to get his feedback. I mean, we, as directed by council, we went to him and we said, hey, we're going to take you up on your offer to work together. Deb threw out some of the options, some of the alternatives, and he was going to think about them. And my hope was that we would have some resolution to that tonight, but again, I haven't had a chance to talk to him.
He sent me a card today just saying he enjoyed the meeting in response to a card I sent.
Okay.
Remember I sent?
Gotcha.
So that's, but I haven't talked to him.
Okay. And then backing up on one other thing, Amanda, I'd like for us next meeting, if possible, to have an update, and I know it'll be a closed session, but have an update on the legal matters that are hanging out there.
I can give you an update tonight in very general terms. Because I don't think anything I would say would be illegal. So I can do it.
We're all looking at
George.
George.
I can tell them what you emailed me, right?
Sure.
Yep, I think I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, are you done?
Mhm.
For Five Stones, Bond, I approved it, once Bond blesses it, the, letter will go out from our attorney, not from us, saying you are in violation, you have to address these violations, or we will take action. We being our attorney, not us. Madeline is now working for another law firm. We don't know if she'll stay on retainer. There's no change to the BOA lawsuit, or the BOA legal thing, because we couldn't have the hearing. That's Mr. Reese, so we won't have any closure there until we have the BOA hearing on May the 30th. And is that all the lawsuits? They're all running together. Yeah, there's the two, right? For now, yeah.
That's it.
That's it. So,
The commercial property over where the vet building is going up, has that been, is that
we
done?
haven't heard anything.
Which one?
Behind,
The
Food
one
Line.
that what is that called? The shops at, what's the shop? Is that the one you're asking about?
But yeah, we're-
That, they never, we replied back to them to kindly invite us. And, they haven't responded that I know of.
Okay.
And we haven't heard anything, and that's one reason we were keeping the sale proceeds in the bank
In the
until
bank.
the statute of limitations runs out. And I don't know when that statute is, George.
You know it. Yeah, I don't know.
Could you look into that for us and find out the statute of limitations on,
Fair about that.
yeah, because it has been pretty quiet for a while, but we might need to free up that money for dam repairs or Cuthbertson Road.
Does anybody know the status of the pet place? It's been built, but they never finished the parking lot. Is there a reason why all of a sudden the development or the building just stopped?
Are they still in operation wherever they were?
Yeah, they're right now, they're next to
Doing
Harris
interior
Teeter.
work. Maybe riding out their lease at Harris Teeter.
Yeah, but maybe.
There's been no activity over there for months. And people are asking me about it, and I said, I don't know anything
I
about it.
haven't been that long with no activity. Is it nosy if I emailed her and asked her?
Please. I don't know them. I've only
I
dealt
know
with
her, so
their,
I can
only
email
I
her.
haven't talked to their contractors, I've only talked to their engineers.
I
They
can
may or
email
may
her.
not be involved.
Does that answer all your attorney questions?
Um,
But maybe we'll have an update to the response to the letter at the next meeting.
that reminds me, the Chase Bank will probably start construction beside Medlar sometime pretty soon.
And still nothing behind Target.
No more word from Taco Bell.
Darn.
Taco Bell.
We had a great conversation.
I like Taco Bell.
I love Taco Bell.
Yeah, me too.
It's challenging.
You don't need more of
The nacho fries?
Crunchwrap, Crunchwrap.
The
I'm
Dorito,
trying to-
Dorito, whatever they're called, Dorito
Question
tacos.
though, Taco Bell came in and we can't, they're open late till 2 o'clock in the morning. Can they still be open late till 2 o'clock in the morning
Sure.
in our shopping center?
Yeah, the only thing that we had, and it might have only been applicable to the Food Line, now Food Line Shopping Center. I don't think there's anything at Aston Village or Village Commons. It said that if anybody was to be open over there at the Food Line Shopping Center after 11, then they would have to get security if they had problems.
Nice and big.
What time does McDonald's close?
They're open pretty late, I think.
I don't think there's much open after 11, but because that was already an approved parcel and plan and everything, there's no other TIA or assessment for the additional traffic for that?
It's all been accounted for.
Right.
The square footage was accounted for when the council at the time approved it.
All right, so without any further ado,
What are you going to do?
No, we're not done.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Well, you
I'll
got
have
a
a
motion to
second.
adjourn, I didn't get my council comments, so I figured out anyway, you said it would.
do you have, anybody have a second?
No, for, to adjourn?
Yeah.
I'll second.
No discussion, all in favor?